Howdy, folks. Your host, JJ Vance here, host of Operation GCD, and perhaps more notably, not the vice president. Welcome back, folks of the interwebs, for another Fridaze here. And go ahead and welcome our guest, Jules, host of the Gray Pill podcast. Welcome back to Operation GCD, sir.
Thanks for having me back, man. It feels good to be back, and I I love that intro. I didn't know you said that was an ex-stalker.
Oh man, he wanted to stab me a bunch and then wear my skin as a human coat. I think, yeah.
That was a dude.
Yeah, that's a man. Yeah, he's a man. It's
Oh,
part of the
shit.
apocalypse. Sure.
Oh,
He,
wow.
I'll give you a quick rundown if you'd like. It's Buffalo
please,
Jared
because
Revisa. He's seems to be a mind-controlled assassin of sorts. He used to contact me regarding PR representation, and I told him, I said, I don't need any PR representation. After about a few months, I of him continuing to, solicit me
Right.
to represent me. I'm like, all right, dude, what's up? So I finally, I gave him a hour phone call or whatever, which was more of me just, sponging as much information I could from that fellow and why he's even contacted me in the first place so heavily and aggressively. But it continued on for about another 6 or 8 months after that. And then apparently shortly thereafter, he transitioned, apparently. And last May, he popped up on a Google search for me, Google alerts or whatever for his name. And he went on a multi-state stabbing spree. Murdered a dude. He stabbed him a bunch in Connecticut. That guy hired him as his PR rep. Just saying.
Dude. And then that's him.
That's Buffalo Jared. Yeah, I took that from his Instagram.
Is he locked up now?
Well, that's a that's a horse of a different color. So he's allegedly sitting in the Bridgewater State Mental Institution in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. However, his court cases are not publicly available on either the state of Connecticut or the state of Massachusetts because he murdered the dude in Connecticut. Then he went to a movie theater in Massachusetts in Braintree, stabbed 4 teenage girls, a bunch. I think he just slashed them. Then he drove to a McDonald's about an hour away in Plymouth, Massachusetts, went through the drive-thru, ordered food. Then he went to the drive-thru and then stabbed the drive-thru worker a bunch after they gave him his food. Then he drove around front, and then he pissed on, according to reports for witnesses, he pissed on the front windows of the front glass of McDonald's. Then went inside, went behind the counter, stabbed another guy, got into his car, drove down the road, and allegedly wrecked it in a solo vehicle accident. But a lot of the details are murky.
Dude, my mind and this guy was stalking you. Like, how did he know you?
Yeah, I never really got into it. So when I finally talked to him, so one other important detail here is that video, first of all, is shot in the swampy area not far from where they found Obama's chef dead in that Martha's Vineyard incident.
Really?
Yeah, that's Martha's Vineyard, right? His family is a famous sports hypnosis and psychology family.
And so this guy was probably programmed.
It seems that way.
Yeah,
when I say famous, are you familiar with the Chicago Cubs, the Curse of the Goat?
No.
So for 96 years, I believe it was, the Cubs claimed to be cursed by something called the Curse of the Goat. They couldn't win the World Series. Finally, they won the World Series back in 2016, thanks to, according to the Cubs, thanks to Ken Revisa in his sports hypnosis and psychology company.
Dude, there's something, I don't know, there's something, and you see it a lot with this goat. I mean, now you have the greatest of all time is the goat of Mendez.
Sure.
It's quite a popular symbol. And it's all, it's really just a phallic symbol when you read into it. Surprise, most animals in some way represent the penis, but
that seems to be the case, right? A lot of ritualistic sex cult stuff throughout time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, what's going on? How y'all doing tonight? we just kind of got right into it. Yeah, I'm.
Well, please, let's not let Buffalo Jared distract us. Please introduce your podcast there, sir. And
well, I'm Jules from the Gray Pill Podcast. A lot of y'all see me before. Me and JJ have done a few shows before.
Yes, sir.
We like getting together because he seems to know, or he seems to teach me a lot about things I know nothing about. A lot of things I've learned about the process lately have been from you. But when me and you get together, nice. We seem, it's a good bringing together of ideas, right? A meeting of the minds.
Sure, dude, for sure. I learned a lot. I've learned a lot of stuff from our previous conversations, and I hope that continues tonight, and at least in one specific category. I'm sure it will, but specifically,
you talk about the ancient alien cargo cults too, and I have a show called Elohim Etymology, and so we've gotten into that before. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. And I heard you talking about occultism in rap, and that's a big thing that I don't have a lot of information about, but I'm very familiar with it being a thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in that whole culture, even the gang culture, and we can get into that. But especially nowadays with the rap music, I mean, they're pretty open with it. It's not as coded and hidden, occulted, right, as it was a couple decades ago.
But that's the real thing I question there, right? And that was one of the topics I wanted to kind of bring up because you seem to have a lot of knowledge in the subject. I don't. I was never a fan of rap, not my style. But I've looked into it a lot because I discovered a fellow by the name of Dwight York, and he's kind of the godfather of hip hop and whatnot. And you look to see who he's connected to and all their occultism and stuff, like Jay-Z. His first music video was shot at Dwight York's New Wabian headquarters in Brooklyn, New York. So there's a lot of that going on. But then you see things like 3-6 Mafia. I think I heard you talking about the Memphis scene. Like, that's weird to me. Like how on its face it is that's obviously some very occultic shit.
Oh yeah, especially. And dude, this goes okay. So I'm about to get into some like 3-6 Mafia lore. Right. Growing up in Jackson, being close. I mean, my whole family lives in Tennessee. I was born in Nashville. Been to Memphis a lot. I had a lot of friends when I was growing up that lived in Memphis. That we play shows together. That's back when I played in hardcore bands. But I was always into rap music, and then later when I got a little older, rapped for a number of years, and it was that like low vibration underground terrible quality that was like intentional, and so was the lyrics, talking about Satan and being evil and all this shit. And the Memphis rap scene basically spawned a new genre with very droned out bass and creepy like piano notes playing in the background with some kind of like Isley Brother or Marvin Gaye sample, but like super slowed down, so it sounds very, very like ominous. You know what I mean? And they're rapping about killing people and sacrificing. Like I don't know if you know who Lord Infamous. Can't talk. Lord Infamous is.
No, sir, never heard of him.
From 3-6 Mafia. He was DJ Paul's brother, and dude, his first EP, it's called Lord of Terror. The front cover is him and surrounded by flames. It's like very like low quality picture. It's just like he's in hell. And that's his first EP. I mean, this guy, he's passed. He's passed by now. I'm pretty sure they toured some with his body in a casket when they came back as the Mafia 6. Yeah, because Lord Infamous, Koopstanika, and Gangsta Boo, all three died in the same year. 3 people from 3 members of 3-6 Mafia died because they got the old group back together.
No shit.
Even Juicy J. Yeah.
So how many members are in 3 6 Mafia? Is there 6 of them or something? What are we talking?
How many? Yeah. Juicy J, DJ Paul, Crunchy Black, Lord Infamous, Gangsta Boo, and Coops Aniga. That was like 6. That was when they got real big with Mystic Styles. That wasn't their first. They all had solo EPs that they put out that are also super dark. Even I don't know if you've ever heard of Yo Gotti, that one rapper from Memphis. He's super big. I don't listen to a lot of rap now, so but he was big back in like the early 2000s when I was in high school. But his name used to be Lil Yo, and he started rapping at 13 years old. And his first EP is called Ridgecrest, and the front is just a pentagram.
No shit.
It's not going to talk about it on there. It may.
I've never heard of this guy though, but he's been around for a while, huh?
Well, he rapped with this group called Fraser Click, ran by this guy named DJ Sound. And DJ Sound, actually a bad motherfucker. That was my favorite group as far as Memphis went, was Fraser Click. They had like 20 people in it. It was fucking insane. But they were on the devil shit tip. You know what I mean? Like it all, yep. That's what it was called, was devil shit. There's a guy named Evil Pimp who's still rapping.
Evil Pimp.
Yeah, Evil Pimp. And if you're into dark, almost horrorcore, like borderline ICP rap, but you know, very fast, like very dark lyrics. Check out Evil Pimp, because that dude has mastered his craft, and I'm pretty sure he's like he has to be in some kind of occultic order. There's no way now.
You mentioned ICP, right? So they're pretty much on their, like, they're right in your face hole with their occultism, right?
Yeah, and I was never a fan of ICP. I actually didn't like the fact that 3 6 Mafia did like 2 songs with them.
They did some crossover stuff. I didn't know that. Okay, I'm learning.
Yeah. Well, I
don't know much about
like an album together, but 3 6 Mafia. No, like growing, like my aunt bought me the Unbreakables in like the 2nd grade. Like I had no chance, dude. Like I was cooked. I was sitting there listening to Lil White and all that shit. Like it wasn't good. But as far as you go back pretty far, it all started around like 1992. And so I'm wondering if there was any like main event that happened around this time. Well, I'm sure there were a few main events that happened. But
well, it's been a number of years since I looked at it, but 92 is the same time frame. So years ago, when I was in grad school doing some criminal justice grad school or administration of criminal justice, a lot of it I was just studying a lot of court cases and analyzing them and stuff like that, various aspects of law and whatnot. But one thing I did, because it was kind of like a choose your own adventure of sorts, a lot of my assignments I could pick my own court cases, broad assignment, pick your own kind of things to achieve that assignment. And I did one assignment on the influx of, or the onset of gangster rap, and that was I focused specifically on gangster rap, but it's the same time frame as you're mentioning right now, and then correlating that with the increase in prison populations.
No, that
you see it climb together. You see it. Oh, dude, you put it out on you map it out and look at it, and it's right there, man. It's right there.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, these rappers probably have stock in these private prisons, bro. I mean,
wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. Well, definitely the folks who are producing it, right?
Michael Jordan does. Michael Jordan has stock in a lot of private prisons,
right? You see the folks behind Diddy, whether it's the Bronfmans, like Edgar Bronfman Jr., or these other folks who run these big music labels, right? There's a couple names I can't think of. They're all old Jewish fellows for the most part, I think.
Yeah.
Wasserman and stuff like that. So
the plot.
I think he's the one.
Yeah.
Specifically though, with the music industry, you wouldn't think necessarily they're involved with like Iran Contra. But like, the guy behind all that Britney Spears stuff, the head of MCA, he's directly tied to Iran Contra.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. I'll bring up his name here in a second. But yeah, so I just think all of this stuff though, you start looking at it in a more of broader sense, you see all these connections like that with the music industry and things like that. And the Brahmins, folks that were funding the Nexium cult, this is, they're the two sisters, right? And the brother, he's he's behind Diddy. He signed Diddy to Warner Music.
I didn't know that.
For like $500 million back in 2006.
Shit, man. It doesn't surprise me at all. That Kenneth, what was his name? Kenneth Raniere or whatever. Dude was a prick.
Well, he's just a face. I mean, they had European royalty in there. Prince Andrew's first cousin was a member. Her daughter was.
I've never really done a deep dive into Nexium cult.
Yeah, Catherine Oxenberg was a member, and her daughter was one of the sex slaves of Raniere.
Well, dude, like, I really think there's a reason why this music came out of Memphis, right? Okay, so think about the significance of the name of the city. I also have a theory that if the world was ever Pangea, back when, the Garden of Eden was around, or still is around, I think maybe some of it is in Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, that area. You know what I mean? If the world was one continent. I don't know, but there's something about the energy there, and that's probably why the crime is so high. The music and crime go hand in hand. It's kind of the same with New Orleans, right? Man, it's terrible in the South, man.
Well, you're making some good points, because I'm of the same mindset with what you're saying. Memphis is named after some ancient stuff, and
right there's that energy tied to it, and it may be on that ley line.
Well, if you shoot a line from the old Memphis, from the old Memphis to the new Memphis, they line up, right?
I'm pretty sure they do, and so, like, dude, all this dark energy that all came out of Memphis in the early 90s, it is now basically in every mainstream song. They're sampling one of these Skinny Pimp songs. They're sampling one of these Play a Fly songs. They're sampling one of these, like, 666 Mafia, because they were 666 Mafia before 3-6. Changing triple to 3 did anything.
In the concept or thought process that's lining up with the old Memphis, right? And they it's a mound city, right? So it's an ancient mound city, and they built a giant pyramid on a mound down there in Memphis, right? With that Bass Pro Shop pyramid now, right?
I mean, and maybe besides Chicago, I don't think I've ever seen a place where so many dead rappers ended up being. Like, it is. I think I have a list. I need to find it, but I mean, it's over 40, like, that I know of. Because there were a lot of them that made like one album and then they would die. I mean, they were living the life that they were rapping about. So they were off in the street dying and going to prison and stuff. I used to talk to a couple of the old school rappers, actually. That's funny. I rapped for a little bit, and it was not a good time of my life. But it is what it is. Yeah, it's not really, you can't find it. I'm pretty sure I took it down off of every platform. But
well, you live and you learn, right?
Well, that came back around that time, around like 2012, 2013, really 2009. With people like Level 9 Productions, who was making beats and mixes of Tommy Wright III and 3-6 and putting them on YouTube. And then you had Lil Ugly Mane, this guy, white guy, who he has his own black metal band, and he started rapping. And
yeah, what he cut out for a second. I couldn't miss that.
I was saying this guy, Lil Ugly Mane. He's a white guy from I want to say Virginia, but
what Little Ugly Mane? Is that what we're calling
Lil Ugly Mane? Yeah, and he has his own black metal band.
Okay,
like his own like one person black metal band. Which is, but he got real big around that time, and there's not really a good picture. He is kind of a Little
Ugly Man. Right, I mean, that's kind of an accurate description of this fellow. He's kind of a weird.
His music fucks. Like it's good. It is good. I will give him that. The dude, he makes his own beats. He's great as far as like, an artist. He's great. And so I've always loved his stuff. Him, and then people like Space Ghost Perp and Raider Clan, who all those rappers ended up spreading out and blowing up in the underground. And now, I mean, they basically, the mainstream took all this Memphis influence and these samples and these, I'm pretty sure, dude, I heard like an Al Capone sample being used, like playing in like Target. I was like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, no one knows who that guy is, like
there was a lot of a mainstreaming of this kind of music there around like 2017 or so, right?
Oh no, I mean, well, that's what I was saying. I mean, it really got big around that time, dude. That's when the time that I went to treatment. That's when I quit. I quit doing it because got right with the Creator, and well,
it's good
started
stuff,
on my path with the Holy Spirit, and so that's a very dark part of my life. But
it sounds like you've come out on the other side in much better fashion.
I may have played a couple songs for people on Patreon. Yeah, so.
reliving the old days. So
maybe
this is that fellow I was talking about here. Oh yeah, go ahead, plug your Patreon, please. I'll put it's in the show notes as well.
Fucking around. I'm known for plugging it like 4 times during the show.
Okay. It's already in the show notes for folks to the interwebs to check out.
Well, thanks, bud.
Yeah, I'll put this link in there too. But this link to this article cover MCA shining the spotlight on the octopus's Hollywood tentacle. So this is that Lee Wasserman whatnot, the head of MCA. He's behind all that Britney stuff over the years with her, losing her rights to be a human being and all that business. And, that's the thing I think is to be considered. We see all this occultism, like you're describing, aggressively within this rap culture, right? Not just 3 6 Mafia, but I think it's fine. It's the folks that are financing these things and greenlighting these records and stuff that are the Lou Wassermans of the world, the Edgar Bronfmans of the world, right? That don't get enough light shined on them. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, man. And it's those families that people have like no idea about, right? Like, you gotta, and it's easy probably to find information now, right? But like back when we first started getting red pilled and stuff, I mean, you're older than me, so you probably before me, but I mean, you had to really listen to conversations and podcasts and hear people talk about these families, right? These names weren't common until you have them memorized.
Sure. Well, I mean, in certain regard, they're still not that common. There's a lot of propaganda and distractions to deter from anyone looking into a lot of matters of these natures. But, before we get into any further, though, on these music things, I got a couple questions for you more on the rap stuff. But you brought up a good point. So how did you get to this the journey where you're on today there, sir? Because you've been doing your Gray Pilled podcast for what you said during the cough shutdown, right? Is when you started?
No. I went so. And I've talked about this quite a lot. In 2018, I got clean off of opiates, and after that, started working and trying to build my life back up. Had another kid, and then started the podcast. I was going to start it, but then that stuff happened with my father-in-law that we talked about before the show.
Sure.
And I waited another year, so I had a little time to plan it and whatnot. But that's when that started, because I mean, I couldn't keep coming home and driving my wife insane with all my theories and my connections and my Pantheon charts. Like it's not, you need other people to talk to about that stuff. I mean, she's into it. Right. I mean, if it wasn't for her, bro, like she's the first person when we were back when we were like 17 or 18, she was like, watch this, and showed me Bohemian Grove. And I was like, wait, who is this? What is this? She was like, those are the people, those are all the world leaders at this place in Northern California worshiping this owl. And I was just like, I had never really looked at anything, conspiratorially. Not even 9/11 or like these assassinations. Like I never trusted the government because I grew up playing punk rock and hardcore and all that, and getting into trouble, obviously. But you know, I never knew, like, and then you know, what the fuck, you know.
Every time I discuss anything with him, I leave with a whole bunch of tabs open.
He's great. I mean? Gotta have you on as a guest though, because you've been on their generation, dude. You know, like as animation progressed, Finding Nemo and Frozen. Like I saw when he was a baby, I was like, oh shit, he's not going to be able to watch like Gumby, you know, or like some show made in the 90s.
Oh, for sure. But like Muppets, that's like the lost art of like not using all this CGI. It's the lost art of special effects.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, when you look at Jim Henson too, man, there's a little bit of a dark past there as well. Have you seen that Jim Henson live thing that he does in the theater, and Marina Abramovic is there, and he goes to her in the audience? Yeah,
but I have seen the film Labyrinth, and that's a creepy occult film starring a creepy occultist David Bowie.
Also, quit vaping 2 weeks ago, and I feel great.
There you go. Yeah, smoking will kill you, as they say sometimes. Although my second great uncle Tug, he smoked cigarettes over like a pack or two a day until he was like 96 or 97 when he died. So they tell you it's the cigarettes. Who knows though, right?
Well, that's when I smoked Camel Blues for 15 years. I mean, dude, we started. I mean, Mississippi. You know, you got shit to do. When you're a kid, there's nothing to do here. It's like you said, you had a terrible experience in Mississippi. This place is fucking god awful. You make the best of it. You know what I mean? It's all about family. It's all about your property, and you know. But yeah, dude.
Now I'm checking out this puppet stuff. So Marina Abramovic and Jim Henson. When did this go down?
This was back in the 80s, I think.
Yep.
Late 80s. May have been 90s.
I'll have to find that. I can't find it right now, but that's that fits in line though, because again, we see he's got some deep occult values, obviously exhibited with things like the Labyrinth, right? And again, David Bowie's a deep into the occultism and all of his work as well. You know, and again, it's not just the folks that are doing the occultism; it's the folks that are financing them, right, and perpetrating these ideals and concepts into society, right, and financing and pushing them, right?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right about Bowie. I mean, he's in Fire Walk with Me as well, which we're watching Sunday night, everybody, if you're a patron. Yeah, we just did season 1 and 2, and the order that it goes in, you watch season 1 and 2, then you watch the movie, because they were gonna, I guess we're gonna do a chain of movies, and it didn't work out. Or Fire Walk with Me, I think Lynch said was too much for a lot of like his private viewers and stuff, like when he first dropped it, and that it didn't have the same feel good vibe as the show, in which like after you finish the show, you know, it doesn't have a feel good vibe. Like there is that kind of I guess like a soap opera feel to it, but once you get past a certain part, you're like, okay, there's a lot more to this than people are seeing. But Bowie plays in the movie Fire Walk. He plays this FBI agent that goes missing. I guess he ends up in the Black Lodge, and he goes missing for 3 years. And then you see his scene is like 5 minutes long, but it's a great scene.
What's the name of this film?
Fire Walk with Me.
Fire Walk with Me, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Film. Yeah.
I just saw the Twin Peaks comment, and I was like, all right, well, I don't know any of this stuff, because I'm familiar with Twin Peaks, but my experience with Twin Peaks is very limited. Sorry. No, you're good, man. It's about as limited as my experience with 3 6 Mafia, so I'm very surface level understanding of these things.
Well, no, I mean, I shout out to Isaac Weishaupt. I've always been a big fan of his podcast, and he's coming on this month, I'm pretty sure, to talk about it.
Oh, so nice.
It's gonna be fun.
He does a lot of Twin Peaks stuff.
Oh, he has his own thing, which Isaac I love you, but I may have to hijack your Gray Lodge and use it for my Patreon as well. We may both have to have a Gray Lodge because, as far as like a name for a tier, because, the gray pilled. But,
well, so
yeah, dude. So
what is the gray pilled?
What is the gray pill?
What is the gray pill? Because you said you were on a long journey here of understanding of a lot of these topics and motivating you to start a podcast and whatnot. I do enjoy hearing that backstory of folks, and what you're describing to me sounds like the things that I've experienced, and I kind of explained as like it's a dimmer switch. You have the lights on, but it kind of gets stronger as you're learning more stuff, and over time you can, it's like a dimmer switch. You're slowly turning it brighter.
Well, at the time, I guess it was maybe a little bit of how I felt. I was kind of black pilled, but at the same time, I don't know what I was getting into. I don't know what deep dive. Yeah, Baked ZD Gray Lodge stickers, baby. We're doing them. I just did a sticker pack a couple months ago that I sent out to all my patrons. And now we're about to do another one. We're going to do a Twin Peaks one.
It's a good thing you didn't call it the Gray Faction, because that's an element of the process up there with the Satanic Temple and their attacks on victims of satanic ritual abuse. You dodged a bullet there, sir, by not calling it the Gray Faction.
Okay, well, I haven't, we haven't done it yet, but, I don't know. I was kind of black pilled, and then I still, have hope, obviously. I think if that's just, the word is leaving me, but, you basically, you're not all the way black pilled, but you're not so, I guess, like, I don't want to say naive, but just completely white pilled and thinking that, trust the plan or what have you. Right.
You mean to tell me, sir, that JFK Jr. is not alive? He's not coming to save us.
And so somewhere in the middle was gray pilled, and I was like, well, no one's taking it, and that's how I kind of feel. So,
I hear you. I look at these matters in a similar capacity. I'm trying to remain optimistic in a lot of things, because a lot of things don't really impact everyone's daily life. People get wrapped up in the shit, and folks get all bent out of shape and butthurt about things that, to be quite honest with you, don't impact their daily lives. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of aspects.
Anything about it. Like there's things in life that happen you can't do anything about it.
Well,
so like, why harp on these things?
I think one thing of the interwebs age has impacted society in an aspect where everyone's got an opinion about everything on the interwebs, but they can't wipe their own ass. They don't take care of their own things. That the fitness, diet, and these kind of things are, in many respects, an afterthought. If you think I'm wrong, you're not too far from places like Tennessee, places like Gatlinburg. I call it Fatlinburg. You go down there these days, there's so many fat folks on the sidewalks. You got to walk on the street, dude.
I went up there.
Fat capital of the Midwest.
A few months back. No, I guess this was back around winter. We went to Tennessee to see my mom. Went up to Knoxville, and we went out to Gatlinburg for like a few hours one day, and it wasn't what I remember it. It's like, but you're right, dude. So many people. So many
fat people, dude.
So many fat people. Right.
Dude, there's a fudge stop every 6 feet, dude.
Well, I was about to say there's a fried, like there's something every foot that you walk. You're like, oh wow, there's another. I ate probably too much. We got too much. I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have bought all this shit. There's certain places along that road where you can stop as you're going up the mountain. My son wanted to go all the way up and get on. I was like, we're not doing all that shit tonight. I'm sorry, man. We should have got out there earlier. It was waiting on my mom to get ready and stuff, and then
it's a madhouse there, man.
Yeah.
There's not a good
and then I have a 3-year-old, so it's makes things even more complicated. But
so my experiences with Twin Peaks are largely revolve around two weird, very strange, and what I call high weirdness in my life. Incidents that occurred in the town of Snoqualmie Falls, Washington, unbeknownst to me, at least the first time. That was the town in which the show Twin Peaks is based upon, the settings of, at least. the cafe, the waterfalls, right?
Well, yeah. And there is, somebody was saying, I think Sabrina said, she's in Washington State, there is black energy here trying to get out. Yeah, and that goes to the show, right? You have the Black Lodge, and the portal, like it's basically this this place where these spirits dwell, and the portal is inside the circle of 12 sycamore trees, and it's very, I think there is something to that part of the United States, and because isn't that, no, I don't think that's no, that, I think that was New England. Never mind, I was thinking of Lovecraft.
Well, but, if I may, sir, I'd cut out for a second, so I missed what you said. Anyhow, you may repeat that for me.
Am I cutting out, or are you cutting out?
No, my gremlins and my Starlink were acting up.
Oh shit. Hold on.
Well, we can steer back to this ideas of the occult and going back in these locations like I'm telling you, there's something weird going on in town in Snoqualmie Falls. I've had 2 very, very strange incidents there. I don't want to talk about it right now, but
no, dude, tell me about them. I want to hear about them. I want to hear about them. Tell me about them.
All right, but then I'm going to steer us back to Memphis and some of that rap stuff and some of the occultism, because a lot of these folks don't get wrapped up as occultists, but Elvis Presley was deep into the occult and associated with the Charles Manson family.
Dude, he carried around a Blavatsky book and wore a freaking cape.
There you go, sir.
He was known by, at least by people that knew him, like a known theosophist.
Oh, so I got a lot on that line for sure,
and all that stuff.
So my strange experiences in Snoqualmie Falls, I was a big fan of the grunge scene. So that was my music era, right? Grunge. And like I was an early member of the Pearl Jam fan club, right? So where you get like early access and vinyls from Pearl Jam. So I have like the first 5 albums on vinyl, that kind of deal, right? Yeah. So big Pearl Jam fans specifically, and they were playing for the first time in their home city of Seattle in like 4.5 years in November of 2000. We'll call it circa November 5th of 2000. I'm stationed in Great Falls, Montana. So I did 20 years in the Air Force Military Police, and my first assignment was Great Falls, Montana, the middle of nowhere, doing some nuclear security stuff. And, because military police, you do security and law enforcement stuff in the Air Force and kind of infantry as well. It's like they mashed a bunch of stuff together. So anyhow, I have nuclear security duty the next day, but by God, I'm going to go see that Pearl Jam show. Because I couldn't get off or trade or anything else like that, but I'm like, fuck it, we're going. So a couple of my dudes and I, we got in my 4Runner and drove to Seattle from Great Falls, Montana to see that Pearl Jam concert. Watched it and then drove straight back. But on that ride back, the sober driver stopped. I wake up, everyone's 2 dudes passed out in the back, one in the back, one in the back seat. I'm passed out in the passenger seat. We drove 12 hours, watched the show, got pretty tanked, and it's like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and I wake up and we're on the wrong side of the road in Main Street of Snoqualmie Falls. And just as I wake up, I'm like, dude, what's going on? I said to my buddy driving. He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, dude, you're the only sober person here. You're driving. You're awake. How do you not know? And then, because I'm out of sorts, and he as soon as I say that, lights behind us, and boy, were those fellas not happy. They kind of gave us the treatment for the next hour, but we made it back just in time for nuclear security duty. I'll tell you that much. We were definitely getting back for that.
So what your friend, did he remember? Was he just driving on the wrong side of the road, or did it just
oh no, I think he's just a mouth breather. You know what I mean? I think he's just kind of dumb. He's just I have no idea what he was doing. Yeah. None of us were 21. You know what I mean? We were all drunk. The sober driver, right. But you know what I mean? They had a problem with that. They ended up letting us go, but one of the cops were telling me about the Twin Peaks story during the hour or so. They wanted to do some like body cavity search kind of situations. I had to talk them off the ledge, But
what were they saying about Twin Peaks?
Well, he was just telling me he's like, what are you boys doing? You're trying to check out Twin Peaks sites or something like that? I'm like, no, dude, not at all. Not even remotely. I have no idea what you're talking about. In fact,
wow. That's funny that they thought that.
It's off the beaten path. Like if you get off the highway, you got to drive a good 6 or maybe 7 miles, I think, to get down to the Main Street region of that.
I didn't know that's what it was based off of.
Well, that's where the cafe is. That's where the waterfalls is. So a couple years later, I'm intentionally in that town, laughing about the situation with my lady friend I'm with, and we're over there at the waterfalls. And the day prior, we were watching. We were on vacation in Seattle. I was on leave from the Koreaville. Yeah. I did a remote in Korea, so I took a mid tour and came back. And anyhow, watched the Orioles versus Mariners game the day prior, and was walking around them falls the next day, and going down this trail. There's no one out there, right? And going down this trail to see them falls from that show, right? There's some dude screaming at his son. Well, what appears to be a man screaming at his son, right? Wife and maybe a daughter there. So get closer, I realize, oh shit, that's Cal Ripken Jr. I'm like, and he's not happy. He is not happy. He's just, he's
yelling at his son.
Just giving him the business. And we're in the middle of the woods near waterfalls. They didn't mind at all. There was folks that just walked down that trail and went out witnessing it. And I said, "Oh shit, that's Cal Ripken Jr." And because he was traveling with the team, I guess because he was a coach or some sort of capacity. It was the year after he retired, right? And I was like, "Oh shit!" And my lady friend's like, "Hey, why don't you get his autograph?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now? That man looks extremely upset. We're in the middle of the woods. He could just,
man.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to.
Yeah, that wouldn't have ended good for you, bro.
Yeah. You don't engage in that environment. You just move on. But nonetheless, a very strange experience in Snoqualmie Falls, Washington.
Yeah, man. No, I think there's certain places like that. And you were talking earlier about Memphis and the ley lines, right? And maybe there's a certain ley line that runs through there that we don't know about. I don't know. But
well, it's definitely a mound city, and specifically the site they built that pyramid on is specifically a mound site. And many other notable buildings and areas are often built on mound sites intentionally.
Interesting. Yeah. Is that Indian? That's the Indian burial mound.
Well, yeah, they come in different varieties, different eras of mounds, and they're often described as Indian mounds, but many of the Indian nations will describe them as otherwise. They preceded them.
Yeah.
So, the mound builders, that is. There's a lot of, I think there's different eras and different types of mounds. So I do think there's different cultures that built mounds, and many of which have been destroyed.
Oh, for sure.
Intentionally, especially down in your region of the world, in all this Tennessee Valley project throughout the 1930s to the 1970s, they flooded all these valleys from the south all the way up through Ohio and Indiana and Illinois and Michigan and whatnot. Well, I don't know if I went to Michigan, but anyhow, those are all mound sites that they're flooding out in these valleys.
So
and they're doing so intentionally. For example, one of the most interesting mound sites that fascinated me over time, one that's mapped by the folks that started America, the Society of Cincinnati. That's why we know about the mounds in general, is because these fellows surveyed and mapped them. And some of the earliest documents in the National Archives are some of their maps and surveys from the 1790s. And one particular that's in Claremont County, Ohio, called the Hanukkah Mound, is a huge. So you were talking about burial mounds. This one's a huge, 20-acre area, where over that 20-acre area were these very precisely geometrically, aligned rows that, from an aerial view, looks like a menorah, and then an oil lamp around it. Bring you a picture. Hold on,
dude.
So this mound was intentionally flooded in 1968. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in that Tennessee Valley Authority kind of project, they're the ones doing the actual work. They got sued to stop the flooding of this town in this valley, right? So what they were doing was they were taking eminent domain over the land in these valleys and these small towns. And again, towns that date back to the origin story of America, where they intentionally built on these mounds. And then they flooded all these things with these dams and water projects. But this one in particular, they got sued to stop. The court, issued the injunction, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers says, "Yeah, fuck your court, fuck your injunction. We're flooding this valley anyway." That happened.
Who is this Society of Cincinnati? Because you've brought them up a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, is there similar? Is there like a more known group who they're linked to?
Yes, sir.
That I would know.
Yes, sir. The Knights Templar.
This is incredible.
Yeah. So the Knights Templar, for example, the Society of the Cincinnati are the Protestant families that were fighting the crown, right? So the Jacobites, the Huguenots, and their descendants. And the progenitors of the Jacobites and the Huguenots are the Knights Templar. For example, George Washington is the 14th through 17th great grandson of 10 of the Knights Templar that brought us the Magna Carta. Right? You familiar with that Magna Carta situation?
No.
So in the year 1215, well, first of all, modern day historians call the U.S. Constitution the Magna Carta 2.0 in the Bill of Rights, right? It's the establishment of liberty, rights, and property ownership. It was issued in, you're familiar with the impunity of the Knights of Malta, as we were discussing a little bit before the show, where they don't answer to anyone and go anywhere. Well, the Templar had that kind of, status as well at one point in time. And they were revoked that courtesy of King John of Lackland in the year 1213. And that story is seen in the film Robin Hood. Are you familiar with Robin Hood? And Robin Hood comes back from the Crusades, and they took his property, and he's fighting King John, right?
Yeah.
King John's brother, the Knights Templar, King Richard, is away on the Crusades, right? This is the story of an actual event. So in 1213, while the Templar were on Crusades, King John, the illicit king of England, as his brother was on the Crusades, signed an edict giving back all of the Templars' land and liberty to the Vatican, right? So in 1214, they came back. They weren't happy about that. And then allegedly they kidnapped King John and chopped his head off after they had him sign this Magna Carta, right? And I'm sure they did some weird, necromancy with the skull later, whatever. But nonetheless, the
wait, is this the King John that all the presidents are related to?
Yes, sir. And many of these Templar Knights were cousins with King John. So this is a family feud of family feuds, if you will.
Oh, shit, man.
So 561 years later, we have the grandson of these Knights Templar giving us, again, in the Western world, the same liberties, property rights, etc., right? And again, America, we live under what I call a crown history, not crayon, but crown, like Vatican crown and English crown. And so we've been misdescribed the elements of our history, but this was the Templars' land. And for example, there was a land claim in Kensington, Minnesota, discovered in the circa 1891. The Kensington Runestone. You familiar with that?
No.
It's a Knights Templar land claim that was buried in it's buried in a mound. It says it's even inscribed so on the stone. It says this rock buried in this rise of earth, as they described it in the old language, right? So the folks that inscribed it were the Cistercian monks. They were the folks that started the Templar, and you see that in Robin Hood, the drunk monk, right? The beer producing monks. That's them. They're Friar Tuck. He's
dude.
Yeah, he's a Cistercian, right? So
dude, it's crazy you're bringing up Robin Hood. I just watched.
Yeah.
I just watched one with my son, one with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman.
It's my favorite, dude.
It's great. It's great, dude. That battle scene with the Celts in the woods got me bricked up as a kid. So that's weird that I said that, but I
just did an occult and esoteric review.
I love the war movies.
I just did an occult and esoteric review on Robin Hood, describing all these things here on Operation GCD about 2 months ago. So highly recommend folks check that out. It's a good description of these things I'm describing here. But back to the matters of this runestone and the land claim. So this was a land claim from the Templars in 1362, and in that era of the 14th century, this was the medieval time. This was the common practice where they would bury a stone inscribed, triple dated, right? So this one's triple dated. This is the same era of time in the old world and medieval times, right? Because this was Templar land, and for many years, I think the Vatican and the Crown had been encroaching on it before 1776 with these same families, right? And then I'm describing the George Washington's the 14th through 17th great grandson from 10 of those Knights Templar that brought us Magna Carta. So if he's bringing us Magna Carta 2.0, this is obviously a much longer and deeper situation than we currently recognize, generally speaking. But this land claim is interesting because we get this land as America in the Louisiana Purchase. So any waterway that connects to this mouth of this tributary, so you bury the land claim at the mouth of a tributary, you triple data like this one is 1362, and then you own all the land that water touches. We got all that land in a secret land deal of the Society of Cincinnati, what is known as the Louisiana Purchase. Napoleon was a member of the Society of Cincinnati. So you have 13 colonies, 13 chapters of the society, and you have one French chapter.
Okay, so are they more akin to like the modern day Knights Templar? Would you say that?
I think that's the most accurate description, right? Because if you're looking at it, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I know that the Templars are still a thing, but they're like public now and go on like shows on Gaia. So it's kind of like, there's still a secret order, but they have to put on.
I think that's part of the magic show. So the actual, if you look at it, so the Templars were these knights, right? And then they pass it down to their paternal bloodlines. Well, that's what we're dealing with here. So the officers, the Society of Cincinnati is comprised of the officers that fought in Washington's army in the wars of 1776. So many of which is the founding fathers, but for example, not every signatory of the Declaration of Independence, et cetera, the U.S. Constitution is a member. They may be a founding father, but they may not be a member, right? So you had to serve under Washington, and in doing so, you look at all these officers and everybody, they all have the same lineage like Washington. They all go back to the Templar Knights, right? And on top of that, they're passing down their membership in the society in the paternal bloodlines. It is a modern day knighthood. So the most accurate way to look at it, yes, is they're the modern day Knights Templar.
Sorry, I'm just reading. When you pull it up, this is very interesting.
Technically, yes, sir. I am a Yankee. That is correct. I was born in Connecticut.
What do you say about runestones in Oklahoma in the same area of mound builders?
Oh yeah, yep. Laz is a wealth of information. He's introduced me to some stuff and mound.
He's awesome, man. Yeah, he's awesome. He's a good guy.
And some rune stuff in Oklahoma. And again, a lot of the mound stuff and rune stuff doesn't really get described in Oklahoma, but there is a lot of it there too.
Interesting, man. Yeah, you're teaching me stuff that I had no idea about.
Yeah, that was a secret deal. So the Templars, when they disbanded, they disbanded in various fashions through Portugal, through Spain, in various formats and fashions. They manifest in different organizations, like the I think it's the Knights of Christ. I'll look it up here, and it's the leader of which at the time, Christopher Columbus, married his daughter. So you see the same connections here into this new world through all these Templar families, even with the Spanish side, like the Spanish explorer De Soto. He has lineage to the Templar, and in fact, he was born in the city of the Knights Templar in Spain. That's the name of it. So we see a lot of this with the New World in the same families. Not just so. What I'm getting at there is that it's not always so. Those folks aren't society, but we see the Spanish element of these folks do a secret land deal by selling all of this land we're describing with this runestone claim, right, to Napoleon. Napoleon's he's a member of the French chapter. He's doing secret dealings with a member of Parliament from the United Kingdom, who's a member of the New York chapter, and brother-in-law to Alexander Hamilton, who was the vice president general of the society under Washington for 13 years. Before he was the president general. So we see the society doing these secret dealings in these matters for that land claim, and we call it the Louisiana Purchase. And then of course Albert Gallatin, who was the Treasury Secretary for Jefferson at the time for the land claim, he's the one who transferred all the money. He was a founding father. He actually is the one who mapped out a bunch of these mounds before Lewis and Clark and set them on their way for their mound journeys, because they're both members of the society, Lewis and Clark.
I figured they were, dude.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That it started with the Templars and then kind of came over to the Americas. And
well, that being said, sir, I think there's a division in this country from day one with these same feuding bloodlines, like I was saying.
Right.
There's folks around Magna Carta. Many of those there's 25 knights, or as they describe, robber barons in our modern historian take. They were just getting their land back that just got given away while on the Crusades. So robber barons, okay, but many of those 25 knights were cousins to King John, first cousins, in fact, not very close cousins, second cousins, right?
Yeah, I figured that was the same king. I had no idea. I didn't put the two and two together that it was the king from the story of Robin Hood.
Yes, sir.
Always forget that was real.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like they don't even, they keep remaking that film, but they never really describe it in its proper capacity.
Dude, they should do that. It's unfortunate that happens.
As these folks feud, obviously, one thing I document on Operation GCD in my discussions on the society is this obvious division between the two factions. I call them the Liberty faction and the anti-Liberty faction, and they've been there since day one. And we see it manifesting through the same bloodlines to our modern era. For example, Benjamin Rush, one of those signatories of the founding documents here in our country, founding father, member of the Society of Cincinnati, because he was the Surgeon General for Washington's army out of the New Jersey chapter. And he ran a coup against old George. So George, this tyrant, as folks like to describe him today, he didn't execute that man. He let him resign and live the rest of his life here in America. So, but he was anti-liberty, in my opinion, and his statements he continued to make throughout his life. And we see his son, the likely heritage and membership, the hereditary member from that man, Benjamin Rush, Stockton Rush III, that communist jackass who got in the tin can to go try to find the Titanic a couple years ago.
Oh, wow, dude. Yeah. Those guys, I mean, they kind of got what they deserved. You know what I mean?
Right.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You're going down there with
for sure. But if you look at his remarks, though, he was a very ardent DEI Marxist kind of commie bastard, right? And you see where you ask me, I can see where he got it from. Passed down generationally through his family, his forefather, and likely, again, the membership he would inherit in the secret society that started America and still runs it, the Society of Cincinnati. His forefather, Benjamin Rush, real dickhead.
How do you remember
anti-liberty, anti-American?
I don't know.
It's a long journey I've been on, sir.
I can remember names of, like, I don't know, certain deities and stuff, and people's names, as far as I guess, I don't know. I have somewhat of a good memory.
I did not know that. I appreciate the kind words, sir. I do. I don't know where these ideas and thoughts come from. I got to root around in my brain hole sometimes for them, but they come back.
I believe it. And then he goes, one could say, with all the various folklore, that there's more than one Robin Hood.
No, I did not know that, but I can see, I imagine where he's going with that, and some of those characters and just the framework of the story, because a lot of that is, I would argue, is also the same case for something else with the Knights Templar, and that is the story of King Arthur, right? So King Arthur was not a person. I don't think it was a person at all.
Right.
You got some thought? You got some thoughts on?
Well, I was going to say, pretty sure, like, isn't Camelot located like inside of us or something? Like, it's the same connotations as like Shambhala, or like reaching a certain level of understanding. I don't know, but I have been kind of reading about like the stuff with King Arthur and Merlin and all this other stuff, dude. It's quite fascinating history for me. That whole druidic kind of period.
Yeah.
Fascinated with that mysticism, man. And I think that you can find it everywhere. It's crazy.
Don't you find it odd that we see the same character in Robin Hood that we see in the Bible and the story of Jesus?
Right. And Robin Hood,
No, it's the same character. Joseph of Arimathea. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
They built they're known as the Beaker people. They built the mounds there at Stonehenge. So I would say I've been a mound person for a long time. So King Arthur, not only is it the same character in the story of Jesus and the same kind of doing the same general fundamental characteristics of the character and their name the same. I think there's a strong argument to be made, and I think it was I don't remember where I first discovered this theory, but it seems to jive, seems to comport. And so the Templars bring back the story of their king, right? This bloodline king and queen we see about in the Da Vinci Code, right? The Holy Grail, the Holy Bloodline, their King Jesus, and they bring that story back into what is Rome, right? They're existing in their own independent, sovereign, essentially small towns and castles, but they live in Rome, right? English Rome, and so they're bringing it back to tell the whole story of their culture, right? Their history and their families, and they do so by putting it into a modern context to that time frame, because they just learned about it on the Crusades. Because during the fall of the Roman Empire, that Eastern Roman Empire archive of information was not privy to these folks in the Western Roman Empire for hundreds of years, as we're told in history. And so the Knights Templar did not go to Judea in the First Crusades. They set up shop in an area today that's on the border of Syria and Turkey in around Sanlurfa, the ancient kingdom of Edessa. And there's a strong argument made that ancient kingdom of Edessa, who is a story told in the War of the Jews by Josephus, that king from that Edessa is in there as well. This is the guy the Templar claim is their Jesus, Mary. So we see them set up there for 30 years. That's the First Crusade. It's not to Judea. It's to the ancient capital of Edessa.
Interesting, dude. Yeah, that's something that I would like to dig into more. I've just been reading these comments.
Yeah, well, there's always some good comments. I appreciate the folks of the interwebs here tonight. Beaker, the Muppet patron saint of the Beaker people. I'm probably going to make a Muppet art of that now. I appreciate that, sir.
King Arthur period was post-Druidic. I got to look into that more, Dr. Corbo.
Well, yeah, we're there again. So we're told there's implications that it's back in this Druidic time frame, but it's not. There's no historical King Arthur. If you ask me, it's 12 Knights of the Round Table or the 12 Disciples. You can see where the same characteristics and elements of the story, the salient characteristics of the tale, if you will, are, and then implemented into a modern context, right? Where the knighthoods that was modern to that time, where they brought it back from the Crusades. They're all knights, and they're telling the story of their heritage in the modern context.
Yeah, and even the story with Merlin, that his mom was a nun, and that his father was a sylph, which is like a wind spirit, like a wind elemental, and that he basically he was blessed in a way, but was still like he had to have exorcisms or go through these spiritual practices to transmute all this dark energy. Because I guess what it sounded like to me is that his father, I don't know, it sounds more like a fallen angel, to be honest with you, went and impregnated some nun. You know what I mean? If it's not all symbolic, because it could be.
I'm back.
You're back. Yeah, I was about to say you froze up on me for a second.
So you mentioned you recently watched the Robin Hood with the Morgan Freemans and Kevin Costners, which speaking of family feuds, Kevin Costner starred in one of America's most infamous family feuds, the Hatfields and McCoy miniseries. He produced that one and starred as my cousin Devil's Anne's Hatfield, and that's Clan Vance that you'll see represented there with the Hatfield McCoys. I'm actually Hatfield and McCoy.
Wait, really? That's awesome, yes, dude. That's something to be proud of.
No, I like to tell these tales because it's often misdescribed as well, and it's often wondered why is this family feud the most infamous family feud in America? Speaking of Fatlinburg, Tennessee, it's the most popular dinner theater attraction or whatnot. One of the more popular attractions down there, the Hatfield McCoy Dinner Theater.
There's a dinner theater there?
Yeah, they get pretty wild.
I know that.
Yeah. So I'm a McCoy through my grandmother Vance, and the Vances, I'm sort of disregard the Hatfields are Vances. So the fellow we see in the story, the legends of these feuds in the miniseries with Kevin Costner, it was Tom Berenger. Tom Berenger. He started as Big Bad Jim Vance. So that was Devil's Ann's uncle.
Dude, that's crazy. And that's your cousin.
Yeah. So yeah, my second great grandfather would have been Devil's Ann's first cousin.
Okay. Yeah, I think somehow my wife is related to Jesse James. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Maybe
I think it's important to know where folks. I always tell folks it's important to know their where they came from, because I liken it to a tree without roots. You know, if you don't know your heritage and your family trees, it's akin to being a tree without roots. You don't know where you came from.
Absolutely. And I don't know. I feel like we're kind of taught to forget where we come from. You know what I mean?
Intentionally, dude. I think that's part of the modern era of these kind of things. We're misdescribed history. We're misdescribed a lot of elements of history, not the least of which how this nation was founded.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, dude, I'm cool with buying a big property and having my kids build houses on my property. You know what I mean? And like being close to my family. And like, I don't know, you're taught to, like, as soon as you turn 18 or as soon as you get older, that you'd have to like leave and go, move far away or something.
That's part of the scheme, right? That's part of the scheme.
Fucking giving thumbs up to everybody. I don't know why I didn't realize you were doing that whenever you were pulling up comments.
I like to recognize. I like the comments in the chat, and I appreciate the folks of the interwebs.
That's funny.
I just like to recognize their comments, but not interrupt the flow of the conversation.
I should do something like that, because I usually just interrupt.
So, but we see like part of this whole nature of all these land claims and this occultism, because again, obviously there's a lot of occultism around the Templar. You mentioned Morgan Freeman. He's a Sufi dude, right? He's a hashish assassin.
Right. So, no. Yeah. I noticed that. I was like, I told my wife, I was like, he's a hash assassin. Like, he's a, what are they called? The, the thuggies, right?
No, that's a Kali worshiping Hindu cult of assassins. But I guess there's something similar, because
something similar. I guess I don't know. Did they use hash?
There may be some crossovers there, but the Templars and the Sufi, I'm sorry, disregard. The Templars and the Hashish assassins are the same organization. Again, we've been misdescribed a lot of these elements.
Really?
Yeah, one of the founders of the Templar is not Jacques de Molay. Give me a second; he'll come back to me. He's half Moorish. The Moorish invasion of Spain, he has Moorish heritage, and as a result, was a Sufi practitioner. And when he starts the Templar there in Judea, in whatever it is, 11, the administrative council meets at the Council of Clermont in France. He's down there in the old world, the Holy Land there, and he's the operational headquarters, and he starts the operational headquarters with all the financial and approval from the Council of Clermont, along with these Sufi folks he's already associated with through his heritage. So there's literally the combination of Sufism with the Western occultism of the Templar, and that's what the Templar bring back as well, is they've mashed together their occultism with the Sufi stuff, right? Through their crusades and through their associations. But both organizations have the same onset of activity and inception. They have the same uniforms, except for their white uniforms. The Templar wore the cross of St. George. The Sufis did like a star and a crescent moon, I think, but it was red and on the white ensemble. And they did everything else the same, and they had the same hierarchy of organizational leadership.
Wow. I didn't know that, dude. This is probably the most I've ever talked about the Templars, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, nice. I love I love talking Templar stuff.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's like I think we were talking earlier, whenever I had I think it was when we had William Ramsey on Already Dead.
Yeah, okay. He's a wealth
did
of
a whole
knowledge.
PowerPoint, dude, on Knights of Malta, and incredible PowerPoint, and great presentation. Then I had him on my show and we talked about it a little more, but that's, you mentioned Pete Hegseth earlier, and that dude just like has the Knights of Malta cross tattooed on him,
For sure. So on that, put a pin in that real quick, because this is Hugh DePayne. This is that fellow with the Moorish background and Sufism in his family that co-founded the temple. He's the operational head, right? So you have the administrative head with Jacques de Molay, the Council of Clermont, right? And we see these things continuing. Again, I don't like to talk about, I think folks, sometimes I feel like folks may, if you're just talking about stuff from, millennia ago, they're like, oh shit, this is old shit. This stuff, not only is it impact us today through their descendants doing the same things, passing down the paternal heritage, like the Society of Cincinnati and whatnot. We see it in like things like the Notre Dame Cathedral, right? So the Notre Dame Cathedral, speaking of the Council of Clermont, the treasurer who starts these matters, you have the operational head in the Holy Land at the time was Hugh DePayne's. Jacques de Molay is the cleric, and he's there with the cleric as the administrative head, Bernard de Clairvaux, right? He's the Cistercian cleric guy that's involved in these things, and then Jacques de Molay is the knight who's the administrative dude, though. And then you have this dude who's the treasurer. The treasurer is the guy that was the man of the cloth that built the Notre Dame Cathedral. So when we see these things play out, because in recent years, just last year, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, he's married to his husband, wife, father. It's his father, it's his wife, but it's a man.
I thought it was the father of his friend.
Yeah, and it seems to be his father. Yeah, it seems to be his own father. Yeah.
Jesus.
They're also Rothschilds, according to the reports of that Xavier Roussard, I believe is his name, a French journalist that Candace Owens she did a whole series based upon his investigatory work for like 7 years, right? Dude's in hiding and shit still, right? I think she's getting sued over these matters, but Bridget Macron, he discovered that Bridget Macron is really a dude, and that dude is really the father of Emmanuel Macron and this chocolatier family that they hail from, right? That Bridget Macron hails from, this Trogno chocolatier family. Again, he got adopted off.
Rothschilds.
They're really Rothschilds. And it makes sense because he becomes the youngest head of the Rothschild Bank. And everyone at the Rothschild Bank's like, this dude doesn't know like even what a fucking anything about banking is. What's he doing here, right? Like there's public statements about that. So he knew nothing about banking. At the age of 32, he's the head of the French, bank side of the Rothschild Bank. And there's a lot of photographs with him and his apparent cousin hugging each other, right? The other Rothschild guy there at the bank. So it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of evidence. It sounds wild, but in that regard, this transpocalypse individual there of the Rothschild family, who's the first lady of France, wanted to literally put a giant golden dick, not an obelisk, not a dick statue, a giant golden dick as the new spire of the new Notre Dame Cathedral upon its renovations. That's a true story.
That's I believe
actual giant penis.
How bad it's gotten, dude.
And I look at that as that is how bad it's gotten for sure. It's fucking disgusting. But it's also I look at that. Appreciate telling the long-winded story there. But my point there was also that this is an attack on the Templar, in my opinion, doing something like that.
Yeah, and right here, our channel says Knights of Malta helped save Europe. Yeah, they did, and they were used. They had a good purpose, but over time, with a lot of mystery schools as well, these societies have been slowly kind of led astray here and there, subverted, had their doctrines changed, and this and that. So.
Well, that's a good point. And
unfortunately, they're running cover for non-physical entities today.
Well, that seems to be the case. Yes, sir. That seems to be the case. And if I can offer a disclaimer, I do appreciate the comment there, RR channel. But to be fair, RR channel is a Bill Colby bot. Every time I mention the word Bill Colby, they pop in here saying Bill Colby's a nice guy. The guy that brought home Phoenix program, the assassins, Serial Killer, Satanic Murder Inc., Air America, and Operation Gladio, Come Home to America, all courtesy of Bill Colby.
Shout out that guy.
Yeah, that's the Bill Colby ball washer right there. But I appreciate your time, RR, and commentary. So I don't know if it's a Knight's a Malta ball washer, but I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't shock me. Nonetheless,
yeah, I was talking the other night on my Sunday Chaos show. I was talking. I had watched the what's it called? Kingdom of Heaven.
I'm not hip.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, dude, you should watch it. It's about the crusade. I think it's when France had reign of
Yep.
It was right before you even look into what the other Order of Knights was in that movie. I should look into that.
Was it perhaps the Hospitallers? You had the Knights of Malta.
There were Templars in the movie. And they were kind of portrayed as these like outlaws, you know, and they couldn't be touched really, you know, because of, you know, they were serving God and were a part of this order, you know.
Yeah, today we have the Knights of Malta who can't be touched, and we're telling stories about an organization that went underground a long time ago because they were sanctioned. You know what I mean?
Let me see. Order.
We had the Teutonic Knights. That was the other knights, the Knighthoods. So that, you know, there's a lot of the Nazis. It seems like have a lot of history in the Teutonic Knights.
Yeah, it's the Knights Hospitaller.
Yeah, they became the Knights of Malta.
Templar. Yeah, because one of them chose not to fight this one battle that the other knights were going to fight. And he said his knights wouldn't fight it. I was like, oh shit, they're different orders. Also, I'm pretty sure Orlando Bloom gets brought back to life by one of the Hospitallers, played by the guy, forgot his name. He's in Harry Potter. Great actor. He's a British guy, but he pretty much brings him back to life.
Just doing some necromancy, huh?
No, he just reaches down and puts his like fingers in front of his face or whatever, and like then he pulls him back, and the sun hits his face, and but he was cooked. I'm pretty sure. But it's a great movie, dude. The King had leprosy.
I think I've heard of it.
Edward Norton played him and did a great job.
Yeah, I just never really get into those. It's a very lengthy, epic kind of film, though, right?
Yeah, I had time to kill, so I was just like, dude, I hadn't seen that movie before.
Yeah, that's like a when you get it like a 3-hour plus type of deal, right? It's like one of those, right? It's kind of a marathon.
Dude, it's good though. It was worth it. I'd watch it.
It's ironic I say that since I do 3-hour podcasts all the time, but I mean, talking is one thing to me. Watching a screen for 3 hours, I guess, to watch a movie. I mean, if it's a good movie, trust me, I've watched plenty of good movies of that length. But I don't know. I'll give it a whirl. I appreciate the recommendation. To be honest with you, I remember the trailers of it, and I was like, this looks rough.
Well, dude, and he's in the Holy Land, right? And he can't get God to speak to him, and the head of the other order of the knights ends up basically saying God isn't with him anymore. Like a lot of them lose faith, you know, just being there. It didn't look like a good time being there, especially with like an army of Muslims outside your gate. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, then that's an interesting aspect you mentioned, because we see that they're fighting Muslims, but they are also siding with Muslims, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but like he went up to where Christ was, like, you know, where he was crucified, and like still couldn't feel nothing, and like all this stuff. Like it's just like, damn, what they were portraying is like super deep.
Right, but you see what I'm saying though? Like the idea of it's just the Christians versus Muslim. Well, then why are the Templar fighting with the Islamic Muslim assassins? Right.
Right. Well, maybe there's something deeper there. You know what I mean?
Seems like it, right?
That goes back even further. I was going to bring up something.
Well, you mentioned Pete Hegseth, and you know he does have some interesting tattoos and whatnot. Yeah. Donald Trump's been doing a lot of interesting Templar activities over the years in the Holy Land, like moving the embassy to Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
Are you
Zion Dawn?
Are you familiar
dude.
with Pete Hegseth's? Well, I mean, he's that's one way to frame it. I just think, again, if you look at a much longer history capacity, when the man moves the embassy to the Holy Land and then starts digging tunnels, dude, that sounds very Templar.
Right. I mean, is he like the head of the new order of knights, right? For like this new golden age, supposed golden age, right?
I can tell you this: his mother's MacLeod. He's got heritage in the Templar through his Scottish lines there, and I believe he's got some heritage through his father to the Teutonic Knights. I'm not as confirmed about that one. And he's got Steve Bannon been running around telling everybody that he's the modern day Cincinnatus.
Wow. Well, I mean, I don't know, dude. You see a lot of this now with the, I mean, they push the whole Zionist stuff, right? And
well, again, I think we're looking at it like a Templar Sufi situation or Templar Hashish assassin situation. It may not be as cut and dry or black and white, because I look at the whole Israel situation and its fundamental concepts of its start. It's all Rothschilds,
right?
It's all Rothschild shit.
Well, all these politicians have loyalty to Israel over their own country, right?
Well, they have loyalty to the Rothschilds. We got a Rothschild banker in Canada. We got a Rothschild member in France. We got a Rothschild banker in the UK. We got Donald Trump, who took a large loan, courtesy of Wilbur Ross, his former commerce secretary in his first administration, from the Rothschilds.
So it's just like the wars then. All these political, these elections, they're funding both sides.
Well, to say that, I think, again, it's back to a family feud. So even if we see something like the American Rothschild wing or whatnot, they're funding, Trump. There's a portion of it that's backing Hillary Clinton with Evelyn Rothschild and Jeffrey Epstein's buddy, right? Old Alan Dershowitz would describe how he met Jeffrey Epstein, courtesy of Evelyn Rothschild and the Clintons.
Really? Yeah. I'm sure Evelyn went to that island a few times, dude, before he passed. If he even did really die, to be honest.
Not doubt it, sir. So yeah. Pete Hegseth, he's an interesting character on these religious aspects of a deep Christianity and these Templar crusades, or modern day crusades, as I describe it, because just a few years ago, 8 of the top 10 cities in the United Kingdom had a Muslim mayor. And 3% of the population, how do you have your top 8 of your top 10 cities having an Islamic mayor? Doesn't make any sense. So, nonetheless, we see, that's what I say, the modern day crusades. Islam's invading the West there, right? We see a lot here in America. There's a lot of indications and examples.
So right, dude. Yeah. You're right. So, what do you think is going to play out? Do you think they're going to try to do another crusade? To be like, oh,
we're in the middle of it.
Too much.
We're in the middle of it. We see folks like Pete Hegseth getting appointed as this. He's on anyone's radar. He's a completely out of left field dude that Trump selects to be the head of the Pentagon. He has been a game changer up there as far as I used to work there. I'm familiar with some of these activities. I don't know where he stands or what his motives are, but what I'm saying is he's changed the game there. And some, I don't necessarily agree with some of that game change for sure, because as you see, he's part of this Protestant movement out of Scotland, the Reformed Protestant movement out of Scotland. And it's formed here in America back in the late 90s, courtesy of a fellow by the name of Doug Wilson. I'm actually a big fan of Doug. Let me introduce you to Doug while we're on the topic. This is Doug Wilson. This is Pete Hegseth's pastor. He just gave a prayer at the Pentagon, not in the religious church of the Pentagon. He gave it in the main auditorium. So that's kind of like, well, let's not mix the whole church and state here, fellas. You know what I mean?
Right. Really pushing it.
Happy November. Whatever you do this month, don't feed the trolls or the feds. Don't let them feed you. Don't take the bait. Don't play with fire, but burn whatever bridges you need to burn.
What the fuck?
Oh, and thanks for being my neighbor. You can cross my bridge anytime you want. Unless you're a Fed.
Who was this?
That's Pete Hegseth, pastor, the guy who starts this Reformed Protestant movement. So his pastor out of Tennessee is licensed and trained under that man, Doug Wilson. And Doug Wilson just opened up a new church there in DC. They had a big thing. He gave the prayer at the Pentagon, again, not in the religious house there at the church, in the chapel there, that is, in the auditorium. So, again, I don't like these ideas of mixing church and state in that capacity when they have a chapel there, but these are the matters that are going on. So this is an element deeply entrained within the Trump administration that no one talks about. And that fellow right there, Doug Wilson, is headquartered out of Moscow, Idaho, and has been at war with the locals up there for some time. As you can see. Again, I don't disagree with the man.
Guy seems kind of base, to be honest with you.
Don't feed the feds and don't let them feed you.
I didn't know I didn't know if you were like, I don't know, there was something weird about just that town burning right there in front of them. When was that recorded?
That was November 2024. That's Doug Wilson, Mr. Wilson's neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah, he burns it at the end.
Shit, man. But yeah, no, I mean, dude, look, because you have pastors out there like John Hagee and Greg Locke, and they really push the Zionism, right? Like those guys love Israel, dude.
Yeah.
At this point, Israel is an entity, in my opinion. I think it has always been an entity, but now it's definitely the state, like, of what it has become its own, its own egregore, its own, and not a good one at that. At least I don't think so. I'm not a fan of the wars in the desert, dude. They can both have at it. I care about
I don't disagree, sir. I don't disagree at all.
Live, and that's about it. You know what I mean?
I
don't think we should help other people in other countries. I don't think.
Well, no one's getting help there. No one ever. I can assure you, no one over there is getting helped. We're not helping ourselves in doing these things.
No one's ever going to help us. And on top of that, I don't think we should have any immigration in the country for about a decade. They should close it off completely.
I also don't disagree with that, and you're also basically reciting the platform of Doug Wilson.
Well, shout out Doug, and
don't feed the feds and don't let them feed you.
You get a bunch of them out, then they can't come in, and so it's working then. But
well, yeah, dude, it's the same concept. And one of the issues, one of my duties in DC, I at one point in time found myself running manpower, budget, and equipment stuff for the Air Force Military Police, the headquarters. And, I got a lot involved in a lot of budgetary and planning matters and whatnot, planning future budgets for like 10 years and shit. They call it programming the budget. The idea that we're shipping billions of dollars overseas to any fucking nation, and the same time we can't fix a damn pothole in America, and you bring these things up in professional forums in DC, they look at you funny. You get side-eyed and stank-eyed real quick.
Right. Well, I mean, you're sending money to Ukraine and other places, and
look at it like it's your own house. Look at why the fuck, if you're broke, I'm gonna need to send $200 to Kentucky Fried Chicken because I'm fucking broke. It's the same difference.
While there were people in Hawaii that still don't have homes, there's people in North Carolina, people in East Tennessee, and all those places that got hit by those hurricanes. Like there's people that that could use the money here, and they give us some like planned $150 a week thing, like stimulus check or whatever the fuck, and it's like, I'm
not gonna lie to you, Jules, I never feel stimulated.
Or, what's up?
I said I'm not gonna lie to you, Jules. Whenever they do these stimulus checks, I never feel stimulated.
No, not in the least. And we end up having to pay them back later on, right? We just get taxed
every time, dude. Every time,
dude.
Barack Obama,
when you get older and you realize this stuff, it's like, oh fuck, dude. Because when I was a kid and I used to work a bunch, like, dude, I started working when I was 13, and It's like, yeah, when I get older, I can easily save money and this and that. And like, dude, fucking $20 back then is like, well, okay, $100 now is like $20 back then. Does that make sense?
What year?
No, in like 2006, 2005.
We'll call it 2.5. We'll go halfway.
Because dude, it seemed like $20 will last you forever.
Well, you're talking about buying power and the value of the dollar. So that value of the dollar, we're about 2.5 times what it was in 2000 right now. So the last time we saw 5 times would have been like 1980. But we're also talking about the actual purchasing power of that dollar as well, which is 2 separate different kind of metrics. So, for example, I like where your head's at. For example, we use the dime is still in circulation. When Abraham Lincoln ended the half penny back in, we'll call it circa 1862, it had more buying power than the dime does today.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like when I was a kid, and I'd
$20 is a blue Mitsubishi.
Yeah, dude, it could last you for forever. And now
that's an ecstasy reference, I think, right?
$20 is milk and something else. Pick it, eggs and milk. That's $20 right there. You're done.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but
if I can steer us back to this matters of. Oh, what's that, sir? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it is what it is. It's one of those things that we were talking about earlier. It's something you can't really change. You know what I mean? Just get better at spending money.
Well, that's an aspect of it, but we have a lot of, I think, intentional aspects of them folks driving the economy in this direction, enforcing these matters. You know, it's for example, I can get into. I don't want to bore folks with the economic talks, and I also don't want to get accused of being a politician because, as you can see here, I am not the vice president. But I do want to drive us back to matters of these occult geographical regions and matters of how these occultism gets perpetrated through these areas like Memphis. So, we see the rap scene, as you're saying, it brought a whole new scene with all this occultic rap shit. And we see that's not the first time, though, because we see Sun Records, right? That seems kind of possibly have some occult connotations of Elvis Presley there. We see Elvis Presley is a deep occultist, right?
Yeah. Well, we mentioned that earlier, dude. And you'll hear stories of people who were in the band with him or his, friends of his. There's that one famous story of when they saw lights in the sky and then he basically disappeared for like 5 or 10 minutes and then ended up somehow a few houses down and was just like, it's okay, they'll be back. And they're just like, where'd you go? And like he could apparently like make the weather change and make trees move and stuff. And he was a magician. Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
They were deep into theosophy and Manly P. Hall, but on top of that, they were associated with the Manson family. So Manson famously tells a tale where he threw Elvis out on his ass on his front yard of his Bel Air mansion for 2 weeks in 1968 in the summer because he could. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. Did they even know each other? I mean, I know he's hanging out with the Mamas and the Papas and Polanski's, the Tates,
the Boys,
Melchers. So, but I'm like, does he even know Elvis? And sure as shit, he probably did. And here's why. So Elvis's personal spiritual guide, the guy who would travel around with him from 1967 forward, he was Jay Sebring's business partner at Jay Sebring's hair salon and drug trafficking operation. The victim of the Manson family situation. That was Elvis's personal spiritual guide. So he obviously, Manson again knew Sebring, Tate, he knew all those folks. So these people all knew each other. Elvis famously goes to the scene of the Tate Polanski house in the aftermath of the murders. And he, in this video right here, his security guard describes how they beefed up security in the immediate aftermath of those murders.
That's wild, dude.
So he was alerted by video. Yeah, you want to watch it? We can watch it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. You can play it. I think it's muted.
Picturing someone like that sitting in a courtroom that their claim to fame was they had shot and killed Elvis Presley. And he took Jerry and Red and myself, who were doing the security main at that time, and said, tearfully, if it happens, I want you to get to him first. I don't deserve to be shot, killed by anybody. And then he told us what he wanted us to do to him.
So, that's a good comment there too. I appreciate it, Michael Caine. So Caine and Lansbury both got tape. What's that diddler's name? Clement. It's creepily all up in that Madeline McCann disappearance, associated with Podestas, etc. So they have the same politics. Michael. So we see all this occultism, even going back through the Memphis rap scene. It reminded me of the Houston rap scene. Occultism, and in the manner of the way it changed the rap scene with the slow raps and the way they were altering sounds and stuff. Did you know George Floyd was Big Floyd in the DJ Screw rap scene in Houston?
Second, I don't know. You see so many AI pictures of him now.
Oh, yeah, especially this guy, right? So in the immediate aftermath of that situation, one of these other rappers from the same label teamed up with the U.S. Congresswoman, that crazy lady with the cowboy hat and the FBI report diddler symbol on her ring, Sheila Jackson. They would go up to Minneapolis and start a bunch of shit in the Summer of Love back there in 2020. But never mentioning that dude literally rapped on the same songs as George Floyd, and they never mentioned this.
That's crazy, dude. I'm a huge fan of Screw. Or I used to be a big fan of DJ Screw. Mostly right just UGK and Fat Pat, Big Hawk, those guys. I just was a big fan of like all underground rap when I was growing up. Anything underground. Like I said, I was in the hardcore scene, so I like having to, go like, you couldn't find certain music unless somebody had the demo or that kind of stuff.
Well, for sure, but I see the way you're describing it. It's the same fundamental, pattern and organizational structures and model of music and occultism. So we don't really, again, these things often aren't described as figures in the occult. They're just described as other parapolitical incidents. But Stephen Jackson, old Big Floyd, here's buddy, big Prince Hall Freemason, and it seems like Floyd had some tattoos that indicate the same thing.
Yeah, he had the eagle on his chest with I'm pretty sure with the pyramid and
there you go. Yep.
33. I mean, was Derek Chauvin, was he a Freemason? Chauvin, whatever. Or was he was he in some kind of order?
I'll be happy to have that conversation at a different time. I tracked that situation in real time, and I've dug up a lot of weird things, not the least of which George Floyd didn't have any address or phone numbers ever registering in the state of Minnesota, only in Houston, Texas. There was another bar in Minnesota at the same time that claimed he worked there, and they had a week-long celebration of his death and whatnot. They had the same, he worked at that bar next to the Freemason Lodge, and it burnt down. There's a bar across town that says he worked there and lived above that place, and he actually did have a phone number. Disregard. He didn't have any addresses. He had one phone number, and they went back to that bar and went back to that other bar. So Derek Chauvin's actually a licensed real estate agent, or was, in the state of Minnesota and Florida. And when interviewed by local media there after the incident in Minnesota, they said, tell us about your neighbor. And they said, the real estate agent? What do you want to know about the real estate agent? This is the Minnesota neighbors, right?
Yeah.
So his wife, Derek Chauvin's wife, was married to that Vietnamese fella, I believe he was there. Was on the scene there that day, right? Tran, I believe maybe his name. Chan, maybe.
Dude, that I have to look into that now. To be honest.
What I'm saying, my point of all those details is to emphasize those facts indicate to me a pattern of behavior that we're sold a false narrative. We're sold swamp gas, right, to explain feuding secret societies in their warfare here in America, and they're happy to fight amongst themselves as long as it doesn't include the profane, the non-initiated profane, if you will. And they sell it to us in these things we describe in conspiracy culture and parapolitics in different manners. We try to piece things together. That's fine. But what I'm saying is we're sold false narratives to describe actual real world ongoing feuds between secret societies. cultists.
Right. It's just the theater that they're showing us, right?
For sure, they're not going
to. But it all represents something deeper. Yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about the other night. Talking about 9/11, and that being a giant ritual, right? And so,
absolutely a giant ritual. Absolutely,
yeah. And so, all these things happening that are big on the news, I think there is something occultic that lies underneath.
They serve for sure. They serve different purposes. I call it the whole hog effect of these damn cultists. They do everything to benefit or profit off of every aspect of their operation. In consideration of that, you see 9/11. That is, they've tyrannical laws, money profiting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Get down the line. That is the pattern of behavior, and it is an occult ritual that got, I suspect, getting everyone's eyes on it and attention, and then charges that ritual.
Well, yeah, and it's the intention behind it as well, Well, that's exactly what it is. It's a charge for the ritual,
right? So
and they have to complete it, like all the numbers have to be there too. Everything has to go down perfectly, and it usually does.
Well, we see this massive cult ritual, but then it's sold to us in this matter of terrorism. So that's a good example of what's going on, I think, there in these regards. But I think every major event is involving cultists, right? So, folks will look at like politicians in Haiti and like, of course, the dictator or president of Haiti is a wizard or witch, right? Meanwhile, we got folks like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton who went on their honeymoon for the voodoo in Haiti, right? This is what they did. This is what they admit to, right? Not the least of which they have a lot of other occultism. John Podesta is doing Thelemic shit and quoting Thelemic shit and, et cetera, et cetera. But my point there is all of these things are damn wizards feuding with one another in these bloodline feuds of wizardry. And, even when it comes down to folks like, I think, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. I mean, and then he had that temple, right? Was it a Sabbatean temple? That was the, right there on his property.
Well, I think a lot of that property may, in fact, be part of the magic show. But in regards to the temple, the thing I found it seems the most resemble a Islamic temple in Turkey.
Yeah. No, I kind of, that caught my eye too. But you see the same symbols kind of interchanged. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Marina Abramovich has official photographs on the State Department website from the Clinton administration. She had an official ambassadorship position. She's in a lot of official photographs.
I forgot. Yeah, isn't she the ambassador to Ukraine?
I think she's the ambassador to hell, sir.
Well, that too, but he's the ambassador to Ukraine, I'm pretty sure. So or they wanted her to be.
She's doing a lot of creepy shit over there. But one game I like to play here on these topics of this. So I think what I like to argue here in Operation GCD is we live in like a horror smoke and mirrors show of a really fucking hellscape circus type situation, right? Like some sort of fun house of smoke and mirrors, but in like a really scary fashion. Yeah. So again, everything we're sold as a public and oftentimes in our history is just bullshit. It's just bullshit, right?
Right.
It's not new bullshit. Fake news didn't start yesterday. It didn't start, what I mean? It's old shit.
Well, that's why you go and you start doing your own research, dude, and you do start finding the truth. And like, damn what someone else tells me. You know what I mean? Like, once you break that kind of, you break through that wall or whatever, it's kind of, I don't know, it makes it easier in a way to understand this stuff and to know that we have been, lied to about a lot of it, most of it, I'd say.
That's step one. Step one is identifying the problem, realizing you've been propagandized. Step two is understanding that propaganda.
Well, they have burned our library of Alexandria, which you could look at as physically or symbolically, right? They have burned all our, destroyed our history, and everything that comes with it, culture, all that stuff.
Sure, there's been a lot of that over time. That's what these secret societies have long, I think, adapted to. That some of that knowledge that was getting destroyed was adapted into their systems, right?
Oh yeah. Now it's easy to find, and you can come over to the Gray Pill Podcast on Patreon, and you don't have to go join some lodge and jerk off in a coffin.
Yeah, let's not jerk off in coffins. I like your plugs. I keep forgetting to do my plugs too, so I appreciate you reminding me there. So on these notes, I like to play a game here at Operation GCD Fridaze, and that is a game called Who Is Your Dad? Because the Society of Cincinnati Paternal Heritage, they started this country, they're running this country, right? They feud amongst themselves in varying capacities and manifesting in varying fashions and forms. But I like to play a game as a result of that. We see that as a result of those things, we can tell, right? We can discern who your daddy is may in fact be very vital in this day and age. It's not a long forgotten thing, right? It's not important in our day and age. It's often described. So I like to play a game called Who Is Your Daddy and What Does He Do?
You tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
So that's Bill Colby, the former CIA director, the guy that brought home Operation Gladio, Air America drug trafficking, and the Phoenix program, serial killer, Satanic Murder Inc. Home. That's Bill Colby. Adjacent to him is Ted Theodore Bundy. I like to call that photograph Bill and Ted's Murderous Adventure.
No way. No way, dude. There's a link there.
Well, here's the thing. It's a question I'm asking because we don't know Ted's father. Ted was born, his birth certificate, father unknown. He's born in the unwed mother's home. What's that?
Pull that back up again. Pull that back up.
I'll bring up a photograph instead of the video so we can just look at it.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, because now I need to look at it again.
He's born in the unwed mother's home in Burlington, Vermont in 1946, November 1946, to an unknown father. Pull this up here. Please stand by. Boom, there we go. Bill and Ted's Murderous Adventure. Thoughts, questions, comments, suggestions?
His eyes seem like his are blue. He seems like he has blue eyes, blonde hair, and I don't know.
Mother traits.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see.
That comes from the X chromosome, sir. Those are X chromosome traits you're identifying, right. So those would likely come from his mother.
Okay.
Well, you do get an X. You get an X from your father. You get the X from your father's mother, but it's not as far as typically doesn't manifest in physical traits as strongly as it does from your actual mother's X chromosomes.
Okay. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, it could be. Look, I mean, anything's possible at this point.
Barbara Bush exactly, dude.
Crowley's daughter or son. Sorry.
Well, here's the deal. Everything is possible in this hellscape of this shit show, smoke and mirrors hellscape we live in. And I do think Barbara Pierce is the daughter of Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
Well, the facts would suggest so. So her mother leaves her two children, goes to France to live with her friend for like 5 months, comes back in September of that year, and 9 months later, Barbara Pierce is born. While she's in France living in a home with Aleister Crowley and her friend, Aleister Crowley would write in his journals about doing sex magic rituals with the women in the home.
Right.
Trying to
birth. Is Barbara Bush like the moon child? Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Barbara Bush.
So that's a great example of we're sold these various tales and narratives publicly to some secret society occult bullshit. But nonetheless, I see a similarity here in the chin, the nose, the brow ridge, and the overall creepiness.
Well, the creepiness, yeah.
The lips too. The lips.
I see about the lips,
dude.
Yeah,
he's got no upper lip, dude. Never trust a man without an upper lip.
The lips and the chin, I can see.
You're missing a
maybe
lip.
Maybe the brow.
Missing a lip. So Ted Bundy's mother, unknown father, unwed mother's home, Burlington, Vermont. Bill returns back from OSS Project Paperclip stuff. He helped out in that program too with the Nazis, bringing them in. He comes back and goes to Columbia Law School, New York City, 1946, 1947. So in 1946 and 47, though, so Bundy's mother's impregnated on or about December, January timeframe there. Bill's back in the country, and his parents live in Burlington, Vermont. So very likely, young Bill Colby, attending Columbia Law School after the OSS Project Paperclip stuff, is visiting mom and dad. Old Colonel Colby, his father, who's the ROTC commander at University of Burlington, or University of Vermont in Burlington, small town, by the way, at the time, population about 40,000. So that's college students probably included at the time, quite honestly. And they have multiple colleges there, Champlain University, et cetera. But it's enough to ask the question for me in the close proximity that Bill Colby would have likely been there at the same time Bundy's mother's being impregnated by an unknown father. And it could explain Ted Theodore Bundy's meteoric rise in Republican politics, and also his ability to, get away. Right? He traversed the United States under his own name, escaping jails and captures and murdering folks. And wouldn't it be weird? The man who brought us Satanic Murder Inc., the Serial Killers Come Home Phoenix program, is the biological father of one of the most prolific ones.
I mean, dude, it kind of fits the shoot. You know what I mean? Like it would make more sense. Than not.
Ted would also go to law school like his dad.
That's odd. I didn't know he went to law school. Now, okay, now you may have slightly convinced me, JJ. Possibly. Dude, I'd love to get you and I'd love to experience a show with you and Austin on it. So I do have to get you on Already Dead, man. Let me talk to the boys and see. Are you free Tuesdays?
We can let's wrap that up here at the end. I appreciate it, sir, and I definitely will be happy to join you all. If I may answer Bill Colby's ball washer here, RR channel. Appreciate your comment there, RR. I love your dedication. It keeps me motivated. William Colby was absolutely in a secret society, multiple of which, not the least of which, the Society of the Cincinnati. He descends from an officer in the Virginia chapter. So again, I appreciate your motivations, your commentary, and it's always, here's the thing, Jules. It's always nice to know folks who are always wrong, because then that way you know where your opinion stands, and you're always right. And I'm also not a brother of JD, but I appreciate I'm also not the vice president. JD and I are definitely cousins. We are common kinfolk of Abner Vance and one of his children. I'm from 4 of Abner's children. My Appalachian family tree looks more like a family pole.
So are you related to him?
Yeah, we are 4th cousins, double 5th cousins, and 6th cousins.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I'm just saying that's funny. That's funny. I mean,
my Appalachian family tree lacks the requisite branches to be called a tree, so it's more of a pole.
You're better looking. Web feet. You're way better looking, JJ.
I appreciate that, sir.
Than JD.
He's not as inbred as I am in the clan, Vance, but I'm shocked I don't have web feet, a recessed chin line, and a sub 70 IQ. But this is life. Speaking of these matters here tonight, Charles Manson, he's a Maynard McCoy from Pikeville, Kentucky. I'm a Maynard McCoy from Pikeville, Kentucky.
Oh, I thought you said you were a Hatfield.
Well, the Hatfields are Vances. My grandmother.
JJ. So you're like the culmination of the Hatfield and McCoys, dude.
My grand folks Vance are literally a marriage of those two, that feud. So he's again. She's a McCoy and she's a Maynard McCoy, and the Maynards were an early frontiersmen. These were the first folks across the Appalachians in our modern incarnation of America. Abner Vance included. He was a frontiersman along with those Maynard boys, but. The McCoy Maynards, Chuck's a McCoy Maynard from Pikeville. So, I look at some of these things with these heritage. There's a lot of Society of Cincinnati connections around that Manson situation. There's a deeper narrative through occultism, I think, in a lot of these feuding bloodlines that is manifested through elements in our current modern day parapolitics, like the Manson murders, right? Yeah. It involves many things, drug trafficking, hits, etc. But it involves the group of people in these feuding bloodlines and whatnot. And why not, Chuck? Why wouldn't Chuck be a McCoy, right?
Right. Yeah. Someone's asking if you've ever seen Gummo. If not, I suggest you watch it, man. It's a trip.
What's that?
Someone in the comments is
No, what is it though?
It's a movie. It's a movie by Larry Clark and Harmony Korine.
Oh, I'll check it out.
Same guy that did Kids and Bully.
Okay.
And all that stuff.
I've heard of it. I'm generally disgusted by processing films of those natures, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's along the lines of that, definitely. It's funny you say that.
So oh no, there's direct connections from the Homeboy, from the kid stuff. Yeah, I know. I'm tracking.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, you have to get to. Okay, yeah, we have to talk about that sometime.
Well, when we book these matters with for futures, we'll go full process. We'll go full blown process.
Definitely.
I'll do it, dude. I'll go full blown process on you, dude. I'll do it.
Do it, man. The fucking yeah.
So, but on these matters here, so we see this picture, 1955. This is a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald on the far right, and we see that this fellow here is technically the third from the left, the fellow with the glasses and the helmet. That's that creepy eyebrow David Ferry, right?
Austin's told me a lot about him. Yeah.
So he's the Civil Air Patrol squadron leader here for Lee Harvey Oswald and Barry Seal. Not photographed.
No shit. They're both there.
1954, 1955, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Barry Seal's there too?
He's not photographed here, but he is in the same unit. Yes, sir.
But so they were all conditioned from a young age, dude.
Well, not only that, if I may. Lee Harvey Oswald, third great grandson from a Major Joseph Oswald of the Georgia chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. Right?
Dude,
his third cousin from that same Major Joseph Oswald, Teddy Roosevelt. True story.
That's crazy, man. I believe it.
Barry Seal, third great grandfather, William Seal, captain, North Carolina chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. His fourth cousin Seal, Jimmy Carter.
Of course.
So
that doesn't surprise me one bit.
These things seem to indicate to me that we're described elements, and especially in this parapolitical conspiracy culture, elements and stories of bullshit surrounding these feuding secrets. How else do we see Barry Seal and Lee Harvey Oswald in the same Civil Air Patrol unit with David Ferry in 1955? Two members, hereditary members, I would argue, of the Society of Cincinnati. Going through their family trees and stuff, and whatnot. It seems it's Barry Seal and Lee Harvey Oswald were both hereditary members.
That's crazy, dude.
Not at this point, but they would be, right? Because their fathers are Lee Harvey's father's still alive at this point, I believe, and so is Barry Seal's. So, they wouldn't have inherited yet, but.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just responding to this. Yeah. JD Vance, definitely financed by Peter Thiel. There's no questions there.
Yeah, and JJ is not. So
no funding here. No politics here either. So isn't that crazy though? So again, on this deeper heritage and lineages, if we can run this thing down here another 20 or 30 minutes, sir. If we can bring it in for landing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, man.
Jeffrey Epstein, that's his brother, right?
Wait.
Okay. Mark Epstein.
Okay.
Do they look anything alike? I would argue no, they don't, do they?
No, they don't.
They're alleged to have the same folks. Now, I've done all their family trees and lineages, and, I played the game of who is your daddy and what does he do a few weeks ago with these characters because it doesn't make any sense to me, right? Like, those aren't brothers.
No, not
They're
one bit.
Alleged to be biological brothers from the same parents, according to all records.
Well, the guy on the right doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't look as Jewish as Jeffrey Epstein looks, like the phenotype, right?
Yeah, well, if you see him in person, dude, he's a very tiny little man. He kind of looks Jewish.
Okay, well, then they both had that. Well, so
I would argue Epstein's kind of a big dude for a Jewish fellow, right? He's like 5'10" and like 190, dude. He's kind of a big dude for a Jewish fellow.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was getting jacked.
I mean,
he had a lot of time to work out, didn't have time,
well,
didn't have to do shit.
He did yoga 2 hours a day.
No, so I mean, well, he was probably into more than yoga, right? But
that's at least what I can document, as far as demonstrative.
Who knows what kind of yoga he was doing?
Well, who is he though, right? Is it, again, he's like a cardboard cutout of a human being, right?
Right.
I mean, we're sold a lot of narratives and stuff. Have you seen the image where he poses with Ghislaine Maxwell and Harvey Weinstein at Prince Andrew's daughter's 18th birthday party at the Queen's estate, and he's dressed as a Navy SEAL commander? It's not a fucking costume party, man. What's he doing dressed as a Navy SEAL commander?
Right.
Could explain a lot of his meteoric rise to the situations he got involved in, and how he never went to jail for a $400 million Ponzi scheme, despite his co-Ponzi schemer went to prison, paid restitution.
Yeah.
So this fellow's been running his foundations and stuff, despite him being allegedly dead, which I would argue probably not dead, but
definitely not dead. Yeah, I mean, I knew he was like an asset of the CIA or Mossad or whatever, but I didn't think that it went that deep, that he was like I don't know.
I'll do you one weirder.
Like a secret agent.
In 1977, this is at a time when he's already been working at the Dalton School. I think he just gets fired at this time. He just goes to work for Bear Stearns. He worked from Dalton School there with Bob Barr, Bill Barr's dad, right? Or Donald Barr,
yeah.
Disregard Donald Barr.
Yeah.
Everyone says that Donald Barr hired him, and I argue, prove it. I'm not saying the Barrs aren't complete and utter weirdos, and I can get into Donald Barr's weirdo stuff in a minute with his, Nazi space kid diddle and stuff, but he wasn't the headmaster when Epstein got hired, and everyone wants to sell it that way, even Law and Crime, the Epstein-Barr problem, right, of the Dalton School. But here we go in 1974. If you look at it, in February of 1974, Donald Barr quits. Jeffrey Epstein doesn't get hired until August of 74.
Right. So who hired him?
Well, I can show you that, because that man would later claim, I didn't see any. So after all the Epstein stuff pops off, right? So then the next headmaster, he's like, all these students, right, are quoted in that Law and Crime article. I'll bring it back up. The students are quoted as saying like, oh, there's all this weird shit. He was showing up at dances, doing a bunch of weird shit with everybody, right? And he gets fired for weird shit in 76, 2 years after he starts. And that headmaster that hires him is the one saying, oh, I didn't see any of it. Well, of course you didn't, buddy. You're the one who hired him, and you're blaming Donald Barr in an article about the situation. Now, Donald Barr, friends with Bill Colby, OSS, right? I think they even went to Columbia at the same time when they got out of the OSS there. So they know each other. Odd character, but did he hire Jeffrey Epstein? I just like to call balls and strikes about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you... Because I don't think I've talked to you about it since all this happened. What do you make of this whole thing with the Epstein file? Do you think there was ever a file?
Oh, I think this is all part of the show of whatever this Epstein show is, right?
Right. But do you think that there was even a file to begin with names on it, or do you think it was all just a prop, or do you think there were names on it, and one of those names maybe, the president?
Oh, he's certainly involved in shit. I don't know to what extent. I mean, he's in the mix as far as he's either inserted himself in the mix intentionally or otherwise he's just into creepy diddle and shit. But it remains to be seen what is going on here. However, Peter, it doesn't look good. I mean, his associations with Roy Cohn. You know what I mean? You ever seen the Roy Cohn 52nd birthday at Studio 54?
No. You want to find that? Show me.
Yeah. He's got Donald Trump on like a little boy toy leash, dressed as a little Roman slut soldier guy for the emperor thing, a little boy toy horror guy,
Didn't he die of AIDS?
Yeah, not only did he die of AIDS, according to David Berkowitz in a signed memorandum in 1994, Roy Cohn was one of the leaders of the New York process.
the fuck out of here, dude. See, here you come dropping all this heavy ass knowledge on me.
Dude, I will go full process, dude.
Yeah, I know you will. I can't handle that right now. We have to do like our own, where you just talk to me about the process, because I've had other people on to talk about it, but I need you to talk to me about it. Just not dude, that's insane. So did Berkowitz name it? Did he name like anyone else?
Oh yeah. Mayor Ed Beam's son, the mayor at the time. A judge, a congressman, a lot of folks like that.
Shit, man. Yeah. Roy Cohn.
So, yep. So there's that's the party. So Studio 54, he basically owned it at the time. The owners owed him so much money in legal fees. He had taken over the place. His law partner worked in A. Beam's office, in the mayor's office, as one of his trusted advisors. And he was also allegedly part of the process here, and they would operate out of the Studio 54 because they owned the place. So that's why Berkowitz has stories of going to Studio 54 is because of that reason. I mean, I like to joke around that Donald Trump, David Berkowitz, and Michael Jackson were moonwalking around Studio 54 circa 1976, 77 there.
That's crazy, dude.
Right.
I believe anything at this point when it comes to these connections, man, because
dude, it's a den of iniquity, dude. Brooke Shields, who posed
the seats, bro.
Yes, sir. Brooke Shields, it was a real den of iniquity there at the process headquarters of Studio 54. Brooke Shields would pose for Playboy at that same time at the age of 10, naked in Playboy, and she would also later claim she was doing coke at Studio 54 at that very same time. So
fucking sick, dude.
The Roger Stone is who would introduce Roy Cohn or Donald Trump to Roy Cohn in 1970. What is this? What's the year of this one? This is 1979. In 1978, Roger Stone introduces Donald Trump to Roy Cohn in 1978, and Donald Trump hires him for a real estate deal to complete his first real estate building that he builds in Manhattan. He hires Roy Cohn to make that happen because Roy Cohn's connected to all. You have to hire the mob and shit, and that's Roy Cohn. So that's on its face why Donald Trump hires him. But then, there may be more to those stories, because then you see images like this from that party, Roy's 52nd at Studio 54, and that's that same young 28-year-old Donald Trump.
That's very Rothschild-esque.
It's like your Roman Emperor boy toy, a little horror boy toy, right?
Wait, that's Donald Trump?
That's a young 28-year-old Donald Trump. You can I'll put the link in the show notes. It's from this article, and it's from the documentary Get My Roy Cohn, that one documentary a few years back. It's the first time this thing was ever published in my understandings. You know who else was at that party and has connections to the NXIVM cult?
Who?
Chuck Schumer. Wasn't even in politics at the time. He was at that party.
Of course he was.
Well, I think he was a young local assemblyman. Let's see here. Dude, this is the who's who of mafia and politics in New York at this party that we're looking at.
They need to make movies about this shit, dude.
Well, they made one about Studio 54, just didn't really tell this tale, did it?
Right. That's a good movie. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it's had its moments, I suppose, but they're shit coding anything process related to that. I can tell you that much. So, other politicos included former Mayor A. Beam. Again, his son was in the cult. His advisors were in the cult. Don't know if he was. Whose driver is a city cop, Congressman Mario Biagio, Colombo crime family. They're deeply connected with the process. And cocaine Bob Evans. Supreme Court Judge Manuel Gomez. Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court David Edelstein. This is the who's who, right? Appellate Judge Vito Titione. And surprise newcomer Chuck Schumer, a reform assemblyman from Brooklyn who insisted he was just there as a date of a Gossam columnist. Good old Chuck.
Good old
we
Chucky.
see his second cousin, the daughter of his second cousin once removed, Amy Schumer, doing a bunch of commie shit. media and television.
Yeah,
and
she's
shit.
awful, dude. She's fucking disgusting.
Now, imagine a scenario where your name's Jeffrey Epstein, right? And you're not the infamous Jeffrey Epstein, but you're a publicist for a company like Disney, right? How awful would that be?
Oh God, that's his name.
Yeah, dude, he was the head of PR for Disney. His name just happened to be Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, they need to fire him. Well, Disney's probably full of freaks. So
yeah, they fired him. They fired him a couple years later. He didn't survive the storm. So, if I may just comment a couple more things and get your opinion on regarding Epstein. So we see the it's framed. Again, it's I like to call the balls and strikes. If we're not describing it properly, if we're saying that Donald Barr hired him when Donald Barr clearly did not hire him. Like these are the issues I have, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is his tenure there. He gets hired in August, starts in September, fired 2 years later. And the commentary about it from those students, so I'll put it in that link from those notes. And again, the headmaster that hires him is just like, no, I didn't see any of that shit. But again, the students are like, yeah, this dude was creepy as fuck. So this was something that got sent to me recently. Like I said, I played that "Who Is Your Daddy and What Does He Do" bit with Mark Epstein and Jeff there.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, or last week, maybe. Someone sent me this here of Sean Atwood. You familiar with this fella?
Yeah, he glows, man.
Dude, thank you, sir. He glows more than a nuclear bomb, dude.
Yeah.
First of all, this British fella
I
comes
used to
over.
like him when he first came out. Like me and my wife watched him. I had to explain to her, like, hey, this guy's been he's compromised.
He came over in America and started dealing ecstasy with Sammy the Bull Gravano down in Arizona.
Right.
You mean to tell me this dude ain't got a weird background?
Yeah, I mean, dude, yeah, when you get into the mob, dude, and I think it's the same with the cartels down in Colombia. Like there's like there's a tie to these other families, right? And there's an occult aspect to it as well. Do Santa
all
Muerte,
day, dude. All day, dude. Every time
when men get made, right? The ritual they go through, the oath, they take a blood oath, right?
For sure.
And
I literally just discussed all of this last night in regards to all of these matters you're describing right now, and this deeper occult nature of the folks that are doing a lot of the moving and the shaking in the society.
Absolutely.
Speaking of folks like that, the Colombo crime family, Cocaine Bob and gang's friends. The underboss's son, the underboss Sonny Franchise, would famously date Marilyn Monroe. She's involved in these weird satanic matters as well.
Whose son is now who has a podcast, right?
Yeah, Michael Franchise. So he gets inducted into the mob. I believe it's October 31st, 1976, through some sort of creepy blood ritual. So you mean to tell me that ain't occult shit?
It definitely is. No, dude, absolutely. And even like I said with the Santa Muerte down in South America, there's been sicarios who have been on interviews talking about how that the heads of these crime families down there would participate in sacrifices and stuff. And they were loaded, dude.
No, dude, for sure. I just recently discovered that same thing you're saying right now, because I was reading over some DEA reports and the rate of Manuel Noriega in Panama, cocaine dealer in the Iran-Contra cocaine stuff, along with the Medellians. That was their cocaine source in large part.
Dude, look at the Ochoa family. The patriarch of that family didn't spend one day in jail. The big guy who did the horse dancing. There's videos of him on YouTube, like on these horses, and he's huge, and these horses are just like dancing. Like they do those little dances. I think it's pretty funny.
I'm hip. Those are Cocaine Bob's friends. Cocaine Bob was an unindicted co-conspirator with Karen Greenberger in the murder of Roy Radin, the New York process leader. And Karen Greenberger was the Medellin cartel's #1 in America.
Yeah. And so I definitely think that there's ties there as well. I mean, they wouldn't have been able to do what they did if there wasn't, right?
No, it's all the same shit, man. So in that DEA files of Noriega's shit, they cite a Madame Morris style altar in Noriega's main room of his little palace.
Shit, man.
Yeah. So it's all the same shit. So, on these but so that's when I look at Epstein, dude. He signed when he's signing shit, dude, in that jail logs in Florida when he did that 13-month stint in the wing of the prison that he built, and did it. He was there on the weekends for 8 hours on Fridays and 8 hours on Saturdays. But outside of that, when he's signing out of those things, he's using what seems to be the infinity symbol, which seems to have some deep occult understandings. And why he's doing that, I have no idea.
Maybe it's a sigil or something that they use. Maybe it's just his sign in his particular order. That's the sign that he goes by.
And that is, you're right on target, sir. So from my understanding, it's a symbol that would be used by a magician to tell others that he's both still in control of the seen and the unseen worlds. Right. So on these matters of who is Epstein, what is all this weird stuff, then we see stuff like this with this, glad you mentioned it, obviously glowy character. Aside from the ecstasy stuff, this dude, I had, other thoughts about all this dude's propaganda over the years, but we see this interview I was sent recently about Epstein's alleged niece, and this whole story is tomfoolery, if you ask me, but let me play a brief clip.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
I am Jeff Epstein's niece. But Bill was on the flight logs because he went to the island. He also went to many, many other places where me and other children were present. With my experiences, I believe he wanted to talk more about the other parties involved. And I know he didn't kill himself. I'm not sure whether they let him go and get plastic surgery and flee the country, or if they did kill him. But I do believe he was a pawn.
Yeah.
So she goes on to describe, she gives her name, and I looked her up. I did her history. Her father's a third-generation Epstein attorney from Denver. She has no relations whatsoever on paper and any provable records of being related to Jeffrey Epstein whatsoever. Her brother-in-law is though John Wick. As you saw, her married name is Wick. She does have a brother-in-law named John, so she has brother-in-laws with John Wick.
Well, yeah, I mean it's just theater, dude, right? That's usually the case.
No, it for sure is, dude. But like
earlier,
it definitely is. But again, it seems to revolve around occult shit. So Ghislaine Maxwell's father is a Scientologist. Her brother-in-law, married to her sister, is the son of Jack Parsons #2 from his Suicide Squad of magicians making ceremonial fucking rocket fuel for giant dick statues for the Nazis to shoot into the ocean and waste a lot of money doing so. Steal a lot of money, right?
Giant dick statues, yeah.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, we see the occultism all around the situation, right? With those matters, right?
Oh yeah, no, those the phallic symbols. Yeah, no, that's definitely they do that because a lot of them are probably part of a fertility cult, and and change they have to do these fertility rituals, and this is, who knows, maybe shooting off a giant rocket that looks like a cock is one way of pleasing your god.
I think that's part of it. They're rituals, man. But my point is that we see the direct connections from Maxwell, the early onset of the interwebs, with those same people, her sister and brother-in-law, who's the son of Frank Molina, Roger Molina there. Mm-hmm. Jack Parsons #2 in the Suicide Squad. We see Scientology stuff. We see Epstein doing weird cult shit. We often don't describe these matters as occult shit, but it's clearly occultism and the root of these folks' things, their actions, their environments.
Yeah, man.
And who is Jeffrey Epstein? Because I can't rule out that this is not him who got married to this lady in 1977 in Manhattan. The AIs of Ancestry.com believe it's Jeffrey Edward Epstein.
Wow, 1977.
So he's working at Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns is owned by the Bronfmans, that same Bronfman family connected to P. Diddy and Nexium.
Yeah. And like I said, 77's that, that Goat of Mendez number, that Crowleyan number. So
what? So this is an index, and I'm working on trying to get the actual files. So the individual that she marries would later go by Bruce Epstein, but his name is Jeffrey E. Epstein according to the marriage license. So that's weird.
That's
so I'm just saying, is this maybe actually Jeff, and maybe he continued to live under the name Bruce? Yeah, it's something to consider, but I can't rule this out. So there is another Jeffrey Emmanuel Epstein from Brooklyn, New York, as well, born in 1956, 3 years younger, or 1958. So he would have been 19 in 1977. So again, it's possible, but I can't find a divorce record. And he got married in 1988. I can confirm that marriage. I found that license.
Was she deceased? Did he?
She died, and in the obituary, lists the husband is Bruce Epstein, and I can see right here it ain't
how'd
Bruce.
She die?
Stand by, please. I just had that up here too.
I was gonna say
she died in 2017. I don't know what I've done with it. Give me one moment though.
Was Epstein arrested already in 2017? I don't think so.
No, he got arrested in July 2019. She only comes up with one address. 2 addresses ever. Her childhood address I can confirm, and this other address where she allegedly dies at. So, and again, I'm looking further into it. I just can't rule it out, but it's weird.
That's weird.
It's weird. The AI bots think it's him, and then I can't prove that it's not him. Right.
And
again, who is he? Who is this guy, cardboard cut out of a human that does $400 million Ponzi schemes, runs child trafficking operations, goes to the White House, flies around everywhere, does a VH1 Billionaires episode in the late 90s on him, right? Like Lifestyles of Rich and Famous style.
Mm-hmm.
Shows up at the Queen's residence at a birthday party for Prince Andrew's daughter wearing a Navy Lieutenant Commander Navy SEALs uniform, his whites, his fancy stuff.
It's kind of telling, dude. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm sure he was part of a specific bloodline, and just took that last name.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He don't look like his brother Mark. You know what I mean? He don't look that Jewish to me, quite honestly. He's a fairly big dude. I mean, 5'10", 190. Yeah. Again, it's not impossible. I'm just saying it's not traditionally the size structure you see of a Jewish fella.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that.
So the one thing Epstein doesn't get described as well is funding gaming development, software development, and AI through MIT. This is one of the projects from the products of his financing through MIT.
That's strange. I didn't know that. I didn't know he did that.
Big time.
Psychopathic AI.
Yeah. This is one from 2010. Science activist Jeffrey Epstein holds a conference of Nobel laureates to define gravity. Did no need to find. Yeah, he financed the Media Lab at MIT. This is all older articles, but they're still available on the interwebs. I'll put links in the show notes for folks. But he financed a lot of that Media Lab stuff in the software development. This is where Reddit gets developed out of with Aaron Swartz. This is he had an office there. This was his operation, and he doesn't get described as being credit for these things. Now, he did fund one of Peter Thiel's AI projects, but he also spent a lot more money competing against Peter Thiel in AI projects.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that he had anything to do with making AI.
Oh man, big time. He and if I may leave you with this last, this is a fun. We're talking, Jeffrey Epstein. I got to talk about this picture. The time that he strapped Stephen Hawking to a fucking dolly and took him on a submarine. How wild is that?
It's a dolly, dude.
That's a great comment. Thank you. Yeah, dude. They just like, yeah, let's get that let's get that cripple fella down there and we'll strap him to this dolly.
Say, shut the fuck up, Steve. You're going.
Yeah, the time that old Hawking went to the sex dealer island. I think that was the headline of that article. Now, well, we'll bring it in for closer. I appreciate your time, Jules, and the conversation we've had this evening. I enjoy the full spectrum of the roundtable we've done. That's what I aim to do here tonight. So it's a real barn burner. I try to, I don't know if I promised folks that in the beginning, but I try to bring a barn burner every time. And yes, sir, I think we succeeded that mission.
Yeah, man. No, tonight was a great episode. I think the last time that I was on was I think episode 8, maybe.
Yeah, it's been since the winter, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been a while. So, no, man, we always have a good conversation. So I'd love to come back on sometime, or you come on my show, or yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, I want to get you on Already Dead. So try to put that in the works.
Well, let's do that. You got any closing statements on tonight's conversation? Again, I thank you for joining me to get a little GCD, Jules. We'll definitely go full process in the future. I will guarantee you on that one. But you got any comments or plugs you would like to offer?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, y'all just try to stay Gray Pill, guys, and find me on Twitter at Gray Pill Pod. You can find me on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just Gray Pill Podcast, as well as patreon.com/Gray Pill Podcast, doing an esoteric book review tomorrow morning. We do those every Saturday. It's Patreon exclusive. Also Twin Peaks Watch Party Sunday. So there's a lot of Patreon only stuff that we do over there. As well, if you're on Rumble and you do locals, you can support graypill.locals.com, and I post the links there as well. So you get a free sticker pack too. Working on some new ones. Got a lot of good stuff in the works, and I think next Sunday having Esoteric Eddie back on, so that should be a good time. And I'm going on John Lee Chaubeck's podcast in a couple Wednesdays. I'll keep everybody updated who's watching on my channel. I'll be sure to stream it to my channel as well. So, but no, man, great show tonight. Like I said, I gotta get you on Already Dead, guys. Y'all tune into that every Tuesday, 8:30 Central.
For sure. No, dude, I appreciate your time. Appreciate the conversation, Jules. Enjoy the roundtable and your the tabs of dude. This rap stuff's very interesting to me these days. You've helped describe a lot of that atmosphere that I'm unfamiliar with, and I got a lot of information to read, and I appreciate that. I like details.
Dude, yeah, and then we have to talk sometime about with like all the gang symbolism. It's all Abrahamic. It's all Abrahamic,
dude.
All of it.
I discovered that while investigating some smiley face killer style incidents and drownings/murders in Cincinnati, and I kept seeing all these gang symbols, especially the upside down pentagram. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, and dude, you want to know how occultic it is? Is that in the mystery schools, the hook cross, right, the swastika, and the Star of David, the hexagram of Solomon, whatever you want to call it, they are used in the same patterns, like decorating like certain books and stuff on like that. Like they're used in the symbolism kind of like together. And so when you look at like, for instance, the symbolism with the gangster disciples, they use the 6-point star, but they also use a swastika with 4 dots in it. Like, I think maybe that's like a Hindu swazi or something. I don't know. It's the dualism of it. It's crazy, dude.
Who doesn't love a good swazi? I know the Process and Charles Manson, they love a good swazi.
Right. You see it everywhere, man. So yeah, you guys, y'all have to come back and join us again when we can dive into that next time, dude. I have a whole presentation on Patreon that I did at that, so we could talk about it.
I will always talk some Nazi shit, so that sounds good. I appreciate you folks of the interwebs for joining us tonight here. I got Operation GCD Sundays coming up on Sunday. I'm going to do a comparative analysis of the Society of Cincinnati overview, along with a PhD paper I found out of the University of Munich. Someone wrote a PhD thesis on the conspiracy theory of the Society of Cincinnati. So I'm going to dive into that, do some comparative analysis to my analysis of things. They get a lot of shit right. I disagree with some of their takes, and some, because you can look at some things from different perspectives. So I think they have a lot of the facts correct. I just think that they may look at some of these matters in a slightly different light. But nonetheless, that'll be Sundays. And then Operation GCD Thursdays next week, going back to the Anatomy of Satanic Panic 1975 style, with the evangelical movement and things like The Process and their foundation, Faith of God, play a role in that. And then Operation GCD on Wednesday, doing film review, occult and/or esoteric film review of the 1993 cinematic masterpiece, Sneakers, which, if you ask me, is telling you a lot of tales about the Promise software scandal at a time when that shit just popped off and really no one knew about it publicly. So that'll be coming up. And I look forward to future conversations with you, sir. Join y'all over there on Already Dead. And I warn you, dude, be prepared. I'll go full process.
I know, man. I know. I'm ready.
All right. Well, on that note, catch y'all next time.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, but check your six. Look in that garbage can, 'cause you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.